first aid kit, and this neat emergency tool for shutting off utilities. Honey, we are going to be prepared for any emergency. Honey? Sweetie, I have one more surprise. This really cool cranking flashlight.
Get the message? Be prepared.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
Yeah, we're going. Welcome to the City Council Chambers of Los Angeles City Hall. This is the meeting of the City Council. Council meets 3 times a week on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And all meetings we welcome the public to attend. Since it's Friday, we have ceremonial resolutions to honor people and distinguished groups. So we're going to do that this morning. Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir.
You have a distinguished group there, so
Absolutely.
you're right there. We're going to call you. Mr. Reyes is next. I apologize, Mr. Reyes. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. I very much appreciate the opportunity to go first today. It is really an appropriate day that I bring forward a very large group of people who have really made a significant impact in Southern California and in the city of Los Angeles in particular. Tomorrow morning at 4:30 in the morning will be the 15th anniversary of the Northridge earthquake. And having lived through that and really suffered through that, having been out of my house for 1 year, earthquakes continue to be a very important issue to me and something that I want to continue to see that Los Angeles and the county and the region continue to prepare for. This year was an extraordinary event here in Los Angeles and Southern California in general. This year in November, a few months ago, we had the Great Shakeout, something that was a dream of a few people that we've worked with for many years on earthquake preparedness. That, quite frankly, was an impossible dream in some people's minds, but turned out to be the biggest success in American history. 5.5 million people in Southern California participated in earthquake drills on that day just a few months ago when we had this great shakeout. And it was a tremendous success. We also had here in the city of LA, for the third time in about 40 years, hosted an international earthquake conference. Was the city of LA sponsored, and with the hard work of the committee, was a very important part of the Earthquake Week preparations and activities that took place here in Los Angeles. There were hundreds of people that really made this happen, and I brought them, a number of them here today, to recognize their extraordinary work in putting together that largest exercise in American history. And the steering committee was led by a good friend of mine, a lady you've seen on television many times. I call her one of the 2 voices of earthquakes. That's Dr. Lucy Jones from U.S. Geological Survey. And the other person is a person you don't see as much, but who has been interviewed many times on television, but is not the voice of earthquakes, but really one of those minds behind earthquake preparation. And it's Mark Benthien, who's the executive director of the Earthquake Country Alliance with the Southern California Earthquake Center at the University of Southern California. And Mark, do you have a fold-out business card? Because that's a lot of title. That's an awful lot of title. But their tremendous work brought the Earthquake Shakeout project forward, made it a great success. We were very pleased as a city to be an important part of that and sponsor of that. And we wanted to recognize them for their significant work. But it's also an opportunity for us to remember that the Northridge earthquake was not the big earthquake. And even for those of us who lived through it and thought for a few moments that morning it was not just the big earthquake, it was probably the end of the world, that earthquake was really a large earthquake in the moderate range. It was not in that magna range. And that's what we have to remind people, that big earthquake is yet to come. It is going to be a monumental event in Southern California and a devastating event. And we as citizens and we as a government must continue to be prepared for that. And so that is a great opportunity to remind everybody. But I wanted to bring forward all these folks and thank them for that extraordinary work that 5.5 million people in this region participated in. And we could not have done it without Dr. Lucy Jones, of course, who I've introduced, and Mark Benthien. But I also want to introduce all the other committee members. Dr. Ken Hudnut from U.S. Geological Survey is here. Margaret, bring a lot of applause. These are great people, folks. Margaret Vinci from Caltech. Kate Long from the California OES. John Bury, late of Mr. LaBonge's office, now of my office. Debbie Weiser of USGS. Inez Pierce of Earthquake Country Alliance. The other man that I call the other voice of earthquakes, and a man who I have worked with since 1986, I think, on earthquake preparedness, a true expert in the field, and does a tremendous job in making sure people all over the region hear constantly about earthquake preparation. Jack Popejoy from KFWB. Dale Cox from USGS. The site of one of our big drills, Connie Lackey and Steve Storbacon from Holy Cross Hospital. One of our great sponsors, Monica Buchanan from State Farm. Sue Perry from USGS. And of course, the Los Angeles City and County Fire Departments, Cal OSHA, Operation Health Services, and the Arts Center of Design in Pasadena. Tremendous partners in this. With that, I wanted to bring the two co-chairs forward. Mark, there he is, Mark behind. You can't miss Mark. He's right behind me. Mark Vivian from USC and from the Country Alliance.
Wow.
And also Dr. Jones, our dear friend and the voice of earthquakes. They're incredible people to work with. It's been such an honor to work with them. We have some more legislation coming forward we're working on, and I've been very close with these folks in getting some more legislation in LA. But I am very proud that with their support, with USGS, the people before Lucy and before Mark and before all the folks at the OES and others, LA City wrote a number of pieces of legislation going back to our URM ordinance, which was the first one in the country. The ordinances on soft floor construction and strengthening of our buildings after Northridge. We wrote 3 or 4 major earthquake laws. Los Angeles is the best prepared in the United States of America, and without a doubt, and one in the world. And it's because of people like this that give us the information, give us the energy, and give us all we need to go forward and bring these laws forward that we are the best prepared. And I am very thankful for what they've done, the history of what they've done. And the shakeout was an incredible success. So, Lucy, if I could have you and Mark just say a few words about the importance of what we're doing and what you've done, please.
Okay. Actually, one of the things about doing it in Los Angeles is that you really don't have to convince people that we have earthquakes. What we need to do is convince people that there's something they can do about the earthquake and about the earthquake risk. And I really am proud of the city of Los Angeles for everything you're doing, because we really are the best prepared city in America.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to thank everybody in Los Angeles and throughout Southern California who participated in making this really the biggest earthquake preparedness activity ever in the U.S. We're really proud of having made it happen, but it really took so many people stepping up and joining in the effort. And it really was one of the most memorable things probably all of us here will ever have done, although now there's a lot of people who want to do it again. So we'll see this year maybe or next year.
You got to do big. Websites for information.
Okay, shakeout.org continues to have information, and the U.S. Geological Survey and California Office of Emergency Services, I'm not sure, it's now California Emergency Management Agency, and of course dropcoverholdon.org are all places you can go to get ready.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Smith, thank you. Ms. Jones, thank you. And all of you, Jack, everybody, make a difference. Preparedness is important for all the time. We see with that airplane tragedy in New York yesterday, and preparedness happened. Let's have the same result here. Thank you so much. I have no speakers on the queue. Mr. Weezar.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And Mr. Smith, thank you for bringing this great group to our attention, to the city's attention, because if it's any indication, the word and the attention that this got in my district of how it was in the city, it was a well-planned event. During that time, anywhere you went in my district, people were talking about it, people participated. Well-planned event. Congratulations. And I know that the city is actually reviewing its procedures in terms of emergency preparedness overall and how it gets to immigrant communities and non-English speaking communities as well, so that we're making sure that everyone, irrespective of your background, what language you speak, is getting this important information. But you guys did a wonderful job. Everyone in my district was talking about it. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Weezar. Thank you to each and every one. Another big hand for everybody there. Great shakeout. Now I'd like to call on the great councilman of the 1st District, Mr. Ed Reyes.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to ask our guests to approach the podium. Yes, come on up. Everyone, come on up. Yourself. Can you join us? Yes. You too, Lupe. Fire department? Fire department, police department. Come on, gentlemen. It's okay, we're going to prove you were here. Good morning. Come on up. Come on up, folks. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Council President, colleagues. I'm honored to have with us today representatives from the Los Angeles Police Department's Mounted Unit, Air Support Unit, Fire Station 11, Officer Martin Franco, Mr. Glenn Grossman, Bertha Woolridge, who's joining us as well, I hope, his lovely wife Lupe and his son. I do not get to thank them enough for all their work and dedication to keeping us safe. Fire Station 11 was recognized as the busiest fire station. Coming up, folks. They're camera shy. Come on. We're going to powder your faces. Come on. Fire Station 11 was recognized as the busiest fire station in America in the 1990s with an average of 39.2 calls per shift. What makes this statistic interesting is that their district is only 1.2 square miles. The firefighters assigned to this station perform their duties with courage, compassion, integrity, and pride every single day. And the same can be said about the LAPD's mounted and air support units. You can be assured that during the most difficult and volatile times, our specialized units will keep us safe. When Officer Franco's family approached us to help them recognize the individuals in each one of these units for helping make his dream come true, we felt that it would be appropriate to do it in front of the council and let all the citizens of Los Angeles know how fortunate we are for having them serving us. I also want to recognize the work of Officer Franco. He has served at the Rampart Station for 13 years and has used this opportunity to work with the youth of our community to keep them away from gangs and drugs. He is truly a hero. So I'm going to read off the names of those who are participating in this effort, and we won't do the certificates here because of time and acknowledging the fact that I still have 3 minutes and 41 seconds left. But it's also done with community leaders, and with us is Bertha Woolridge as well. And again, when Officer Franco approached us, it was because he wanted to be able to share his thanks, given the level of support he has received as he has battled cancer for the past 5 years. And we are blessed to have him here with us today. We're blessed to have his lovely wife Lupe and his son. And I want to thank him for his courage and his presence and giving us this opportunity. So before I read the names, I'd like to ask Officer Franco if you would like to share a few words.
Sure.
Please, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Reyes. Excuse me. My life with cancer has been 5 years as a survivor. This past October and during the summer, I almost didn't have a chance to live. But thanks to my brothers and sisters of the fire department and the police department, they gave me courage to survive. I was doing 105 fever, and they already were reading my last rite. But everybody came down, and everybody was giving me encouragement, including civilians, in their prayers. That's why I'm here. Of course, my lovely family, the fire department and the police department, were able to take care of them. And one wish that I had is to take a photo picture with all my brothers and sisters, and that came true. In addition to that, Air Support gave a special boy a special dream riding on the helicopter. And along with that, the fire department also gave him a dream, is giving him a ride on the fire truck. Again, thank you so much to my fellow brothers and sisters of the fire department and the police department. And thanks, Councilman Reyes, for this award and recognizing that we are the city of angels, that people that do care a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. With me, if I may, I'd like to read off the names who are here with us, who have fulfilled Officer Franco's dream. Pilot Rick Alatorre, Technical Flight Officer Kevin Webb, Administrative Lieutenant Phil Smith, Sergeant 2 Tony DeMolina, Pilot Robert Harkins, Technical Flight Officer Mike Fraser, Lieutenant Mike Bettis, my fire station, Captain Greg Malaise, I hope I pronounced that right, Apparatus Operator Mark Calcamo, Engineer Stephen Finch, Firefighter Kent Koffler, Firefighter Ryan Kendall, Firefighter Jason Bettis, LA City Fire Shift Battalion Chief Jose Cranenbold, our LA Air Support Reserve Photographer Glenn Grossman, and of course, the great support of our community and leader Bertha Woolridge and the Committee of Pico Union. So again, thank you, Officer Franco, for your dedication to our city, to your lovely wife and your son, and may God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Zine would like to have some comments. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I saw Councilman Reyes on television this morning at 5 a.m., so I know he's been up many, many hours. You have a partner there that I don't think the studio audience can see, the P3 officer who's your partner. Can we get him on camera? Is he the one who went in the helicopter? Okay, and the fire truck? Now, he is ready for the LAPD family. Father and son. What a beautiful picture there. I know there's other officers who have been praying, who have been hoping, and we see the result today, that you've been blessed by not only your family, but many friends within the city family. And it's good to see you up walking around. I know Cliff Ruff, my chief of staff, said the prognosis wasn't real positive, but obviously things have turned around to benefit you, your family, and the people of Los Angeles. So congratulations, keep the recovery going. And to the air support folks that people never see up in the sky, you know, they see the helicopter, but these are the real folks that fly that aircraft and the firefighter personnel. So to all of you, congratulations. And it's a great day when we can celebrate something like this here in the City Council chambers, you, your family, and all your friends in the city. God bless you, and keep that recovery going. Best to you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Reyes, thank you. Officer, to your family, thank you. Elevens, thank you. And Rick Alatorre and Air Support, thank you. Congratulations again. This is what City Family is all about. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce the President of City Council. Big hand for Eric Garcetti.
Thank you. Tom LeBons, ladies and gentlemen. If we can run through the agenda just before we go to Mr. Huizar, who will be next, if we can please call the roll and run through the agenda.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Vice President Zine, Garcetti. 14 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
All right. Mr. Labange moves. Mr. Parks seconds. Without objection, those will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
All right. Mr. Alarcon moves and Mr. Huizar seconds. Without objection, those two will be approved. If we can run through the agenda.
On the regular agenda, items 1 through 7 are items for which public hearings have been held. On items 2 and 3, the Housing Committee did not meet and therefore waive consideration of the items. CAO recommendations are on both files.
Okay. We'll move those recommendations. Anybody wishing to call 1 through 7 special? If Mr. Huizar?
Number 2, please.
Number 2 for Mr. Huizar. And any others? If not, let's go ahead and take up the balance. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
All right, those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 8 through 13 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, we have a card on 8 and on 13, so we'll call those special for cards from the public. And open and close the other hearings, 9 through 12. Any specials? Mr. Huizar?
Item number 12 for 1 week.
Okay. That'll take us to January 23rd. Without objection, we'll continue item 12 till the 23rd. 9 through 11. If nobody wishes to call special, let's go ahead and open the roll on those. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Those are approved. If we can call the roll for the special meeting, please.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruel, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Westenstein, Garcetti, 14 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay. First item?
Item 14 is an item for which public hearing has been held.
Okay. Nobody wishes to call that special. Mr. Parks, would that call the special?
For Mr. Cardenas, 14 special.
Okay. Call that special for Mr. Cardenas.
And, Mr. President, that would leave item 15, which is the closed session item.
Okay. We'll call that special as well. We'll temporarily adjourn the special meeting, return to the regular meeting. Recess, and we'll come back to the regular meeting. Okay. We will recognize next then Mr. Huizar for our next presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and colleagues and public. I have a very special presentation today, and want to ask you and join me to recognize the hard work that members of the Ministerios Cordero de Dios is doing in Boyle Heights. It is a small church doing great things in the Ramona Gardens community of my district. And I'd like to acknowledge them not only for the great work of the church, but the incredible success stories that have occurred because of the work like this church in Boyle Heights. I will present to you three remarkable individuals a little bit later who have arisen above all the odds they have faced. And oftentimes we hear about the troubles, about the shootings, about the difficulties there is in sometimes growing up in the public housing projects. But today we are celebrating success stories. And one thing that I want to do as well is that when we acknowledge that someone has beaten the odds, we should not only applaud them, but we should also work towards making sure that those odds do not even exist in the future for those who come after them. And so I'm joined today by Senior Pastor Oscar Rodriguez, his two sons Noah and Ben Rodriguez, Mr. Jose Navarro, Joseph Serrado, and many others of the congregation of this wonderful church. Since taking over the church in 1981, Pastor Rodriguez and his wife Rita Rodriguez and a small group of community members have converted a small building in Ramona Gardens into a remarkable incubator of hope, inspiration, and success. And as a lifelong resident of Boyle Heights, the community that this church serves, I understand firsthand the benefits of services like these have on the residents of Boyle Heights. And so now I would like to introduce Mr. Oscar Rodriguez, Senior Pastor of Ministerios Cordero de Dios Church in Boyle Heights. Pastor.
Please.
I want to thank everybody right here, and I want to thank Jose Weiser, Mr. Jose Weiser, and I want to thank Joe Serrano, he's the one that talk about the church, and I want to thank to my sons, my nephew, Noel Rodriguez and Benjamin Rodriguez and Jose Navarro. They are here today, and it's been a privilege, and this is the opportunity for me to let everybody know that with the help of the Almighty, we could do wonderful things in the name of Jesus. And I want to congratulate everybody that are here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pastor. And so today we are here to recognize three extraordinary individuals who have benefited from the services provided through this wonderful church. And it is no coincidence that two of them are the children of Mr. Oscar and Rita Rodriguez. And I would like to share a little bit from their background to see how they have fared with the odds against them. The first is Dr. Noah Rodriguez. Dr. Rodriguez is one of 5 children born to immigrant parents from Mexico. He and his siblings were raised in the Ramona Gardens housing projects. He is the first in his family to attend college and graduated from Stanford University. I'll forgive you for that. I went to the school across the bay at Berkeley. we're going to play this weekend, by the way, in basketball, right? So we'll see. We have our best record in basketball in over 9 years. I mean, over since 1959 when we won the championship. Well, we went to the championship. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Go Bears, somebody said from over here. But let me tell a little bit more about Dr. Rodriguez. His compassion to care for the sick and disenfranchised led him to enroll in the Charles Drew UCLA School of Medicine, where he focused on the urban underserved community. He remained involved in the local community by giving talks on topics such as menopause and cancers of the female reproductive tract at Cordero de Dios, where his parents have served as pastors for nearly 30 years. With his fervor for women's health and inspired by the challenge of, help me with this, gynecologic, that was right, malignancies, Noah is currently pursuing his fellowship training in gynecology at Brigham and Women's Hospital Harvard Medical School in Boston. Congratulations. So, Doctor, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, I want to congratulate you and thank you for the work you do on behalf of our community, coming back to serve where the community grew up. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
I'd like to thank Councilman Huizar and the City Council for recognizing our individual achievements, but I want to, this was only made possible through the years of collective efforts from individuals such as our parents, our supporting family, and members of our community who have inspired us, and let us not forget our teachers who inspired us and gave us unwavering encouragement throughout our years. And in the middle of these budget crisis that everyone is facing, I'd like to make a plea for the governor and the mayor and those people of LAUSD to please not forget the importance of our teachers, because through our teachers, our community, we are here today being recognized, and this is a collective effort. Thank you.
Very well said. Thank you very much. I also want to introduce Jose Navarro. He was also raised in Ramona Gardens housing projects by his grandmother after his father abandoned him and his mother, a young teenager, unable to care for him or by herself. With a great deal of self-determination, Jose managed to avoid gang life and was the first in his family to graduate from high school and go on to college. After graduating from Woodrow Wilson High School, he went on to study English literature at the University of California at Berkeley. Soon after, Jose taught in the GED program at San Quentin State Prison in California and was a teaching assistant at UC Berkeley. He returned to Southern California shortly thereafter to work with juveniles at Los Padrinos and Central Juvenile Halls. Then, with a better understanding of the particular needs of low-income youth in urban areas, Jose returned to Oakland and began working as a high school English teacher with the Oakland Unified School District. Jose, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, the community of Boyle Heights, muchísimas gracias, and thank you for all the work you do on behalf of our youth. Thank you so much. Thank you. Want to say something?
I'd just like to, again, reinforce what my cousin said. Our teachers, our educators are very, very important. They are the foundation. They are the very reason why we're here today. And we can name off countless teachers who've inspired us, who provided support. And in the face of budget cuts, I think we have to make a renewed commitment to keeping our teachers where they are and valuing education as it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, as we say, Benjamin Rodriguez, another member of the Rodriguez family, also grew up in the Ramona Gardens housing projects. Many of his childhood friends joined the neighborhood gang and dropped out of school, but Ben remained focused on his education. He attended Woodrow Wilson High School and graduated in the top 10% of his class. He married his high school sweetheart, and while raising a family, he attended Occidental College and graduated with distinction in history. He has served in his community as an elementary educator at Harrison School in City Terrace for the past 8 years. He recently obtained his master's degree and administrative services credential from Cal State LA. With his classroom experience and newly gained knowledge in educational administration, Ben will continue to seek opportunities to impact the educational system in Los Angeles. Felicidades and congratulations.
Good morning, council members. It's a wonderful honor and a privilege to be here before you this morning receiving this great honor. And it definitely inspires me to continue the work that I've been doing as a teacher in LAUSD. And again, I'm going to say the same message that my cousin and my brother gave to the council. We need to save the teachers' positions. We need our teachers in the classrooms. We need reduced class sizes. And I implore you to do everything in your power to maintain that and to make that happen in the LAUSD in spite of our current crisis that we're facing in the economy. So once again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and congratulations again, Mr. President and colleagues. Again, these are inspirations. I hope the young people watching can see that all is possible when we give opportunities to our young people. And something I heard this morning that was inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King. Like I said earlier, we congratulate and are inspired by those who beat the odds, but we must do something to get rid of those odds. Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huizar, and congratulations to all of our honorees. We have two presentations left. Our next one is for a dear friend of Los Angeles and all of us. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Parks for his recognition of Fernell Chapman.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Parks.
Sir, how you doing? Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Parks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good job, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask recently retired newscaster Fernell Chapman to come up. I'd also ask the news director Bob Long to come up, Beverly White, also a member of the news team at Channel 4, and also Xavier Higgs to come on up. We're here today to honor a person that's been around for a number of years, retired as of January 1st. He wanted me to clarify that he is not the first employee at Channel 4. Even though they're celebrating their 60th anniversary, he just wanted to make sure it's clear he was not the first employee. But Fernell Chapman broke the color line in 1968 when he became the first African American hired as a television news reporter in Louisiana, and amongst the first in the entire southern United States. It proved a grueling and challenging career at the time for the heated race relationships in the Deep South. He has anchored the #1 rated evening and late evening edition of Channel 4 News here locally, and was a general assignment reporter since August of 1976, when he joined the station from WKYC-TV in Cleveland. In the past 3 decades, Chapman has covered virtually every major news event in the greater Los Angeles area: earthquakes, riots, Olympics. Did you do both Olympics, 1932 and Olympics, 84 Olympics, brush fires, floods, high-profile trials. He was the primary NBC Channel 4 reporter assigned to the O.J. Simpson criminal trial, and actually obtained the first on-camera interview with Simpson after the trial. The same is true of Rodney King LAPD brutality case. He's been a leader in breaking significant news stories, including the police misconduct, jailhouse brutality, as well as community-oriented activities. He's received numerous awards for his journalistic work, including Emmys, Golden Mikes, as well as honors from the Greater Los Angeles Press Club, the Ohio Associated Press Club, and the Greater New Orleans Press Club. He's also been honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Minorities in Broadcasting. Prior to joining NBC Channel 4, Chapman was a weekend anchor at WKYC-TV, the NBC-owned station in Cleveland, from 1973 to 76. He worked in a variety of positions at WKYC-TV, including news producer, field reporter, substitute weekday anchor, assignment editor, talk show host, moderator, and hosted an award-winning documentary, SOS East Cleveland. From 67 to 73, he worked at WVUE TV in New Orleans, where he began his television career as a weekend monitor and desk assignment. He became a reporter in 68 and then as an anchor of the noon news in 1972. He's participated in numerous community events throughout Southern California each year and volunteered his time to MC a variety of activities in our community. He's been honored by Xavier University of Louisiana he's a graduate of Xavier University of Louisiana with a bachelor's degree in speech and drama. He was one of only 20 candidates nationwide selected to participate in a special program at Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism. He was also named in Who's Who in America. He has been involved with a number of community activities, and we just thought it would be fitting that he be brought here to City Council, having served these 30-plus years in the city, to be honored officially before he goes back to New Orleans and to begin manual labor, as he calls it. I think one of the most touching stories I've ever seen is when he covered the Katrina issue and the impact on his family and himself, and how emotional he was during that broadcast. And before I give the mic to him, I'd like Jan Perry to come up and join me in this presentation.
Yes. I said yes, Chief. Okay, thank you. Fernell, you and I had a chance to talk before this presentation, and I told you that I had started out as an intern because I was a journalism major at SC, and I was an intern in community ascertainment at KNBC under folks like Linda Alvarez and Frank Kwan, and I kind of matured and grew up watching you, admiring you. I was a staff person here in the chamber. I remember when I first met you, I was actually kind of scared of you. But I guess I can best summarize what you mean to me. Piercing intelligence, an incredible grasp of language, and the ability to communicate and to question and to piece together a story to share with those who are viewing is a unique skill that not many people have. The fact that you're retiring causes me great happiness for you, but sadness, I think, for all of us, because there aren't a lot of people like you in this world, and I dare say there won't be another Fernell Chatman. And I know that you're going to go to Louisiana and take care of your family business, and I hope that you have much joy and relaxation, but I really, truly hope that you don't step completely out of the world of journalism and out of the world of communication, because yours is a voice that we need, and need now more than ever, and I hope that it isn't lost while it may be a little more quiet, and I want you to know I'm not scared of you anymore. Have enjoyed you, admired you, and really look up to you. So congratulations on your retirement.
Let me ask Mr. Bob Long to come up and make some comments from the station as the news director.
Well, anyone who's done this as long as I have has to notice that the grown-ups seem to be going away. And Fernell has been a great rabbi to me and to our newsroom for a long time. I've got his phone number.
And we could not have this without Beverly White coming up and making some comments.
I'll make them brief. This moment belongs to Fernell Chatman, or as we affectionately call him, Chat. He will be missed, but we know his influence will last a very long time, because he's not only a gentleman, he's a journalist, and they're in short supply. So good luck and Godspeed, my friend. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we have a few council members with the appropriate time. Mr. Zine, Mr. Smith, Ms. Hahn, and Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Zine.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Fernell, you're hiding behind Jan Perry. She's blocking you. Well, you were. Anyway, I remember as a little kid watching you on television, Fernell. I grew up watching you on television, Channel 4. You've been around a long, long time. When I was with the LAPD, you'd cover many stories, always the professional, always doing the story accurate, on point. And many times here in City Council, the stories that you've covered, that career over 30 years to the people of Los Angeles. I've been in New Orleans twice. The city's going through a rebuilding process, and I'm sure that your leadership will help make that continue. We're going to miss you here in Los Angeles. You've really been a solid rock of solid journalism and reporting to the people of Los Angeles. And just Wednesday, we were honoring KMBC4 with Paul Moyer and Colleen Williams for the 60th anniversary of that station here in Los Angeles. I understand tonight at 7 o'clock there's going to have a history of Channel 4, and I'm sure you're a small part of that history of Channel 4. So I'll give that plug again. Tonight, KNBC, Channel 4, 7 to 8, the history of Fernell Chapman and Channel 4, 60 years of broadcasting to the people of Los Angeles. But thank you, Councilman Parks, for bringing Fernell forward. He's really been great in all these years. And it seems that the reporters that we have known for so many years, they're like moving on, retiring, moving out of the area, but those memories will last for many, many years to come. So God bless you and your family, and best wishes in your retirement and success in your future.
Thank you. Mr. Smith is our next speaker.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm really happy to be here to say goodbye to Fernell and wish him well. Fernell may not remember this, but I was Hal Bernson's campaign manager, and you were assigned to work that campaign, and you came out one day and said, I want to walk a precinct with you. And I said, Fernell, you pick the precinct. I'm not even going to pick it. We're working Granada Hills. Pick one. He picked one, and we got there, and down the street there were 15 Bernson signs and one for our opponent. And Fernell said, you set me up. I said, I had nothing to do with it. Fernell, you picked it. So we went to the door of that one person. He said to Mr. Bernson, I'm not even voting for her. My wife put that sign up. I had nothing to do with it. In fact, you can put it down and put your sign up if you want. And to this day, I think Fernell believes we set him up, but we didn't. But you're a good reporter. You're a great voice in L.A., and you participate in so much of the lifestyle of L.A., not just being a reporter, but being out there participating in the lifestyle of L.A. and reporting about it. You had your own show for many years in the morning. That you just did stuff that talked about L.A. specific, and I know you cared so much about L.A. And I know you're going back to New Orleans, right, to help the folks back there, and I know you're going to be a great asset to them in your retirement. But I just want to wish you well for your great years here in L.A. I hope it's something you'll remember all your life as a positive thing. I'm sure it will be. And thank you for being the voice of L.A. while you were here. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Our next speaker is Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. Well, I certainly want to rise and, as Beverly White said, wish you Godspeed and good luck. It was interesting listening to your history, and really so much of your history is the history of Los Angeles. And you were there on the front lines, and as Jan Perry said, you were able to, when you covered a story, to really put it together in a way and deliver it to the masses that was easily understandable. But we always knew that if you were reporting, if you were delivering the news, it was truthful, it had integrity. I had an interesting relationship with you. In the late 80s, I was the assistant marketing director at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza. This was the first regional mall that hired an African-American mall manager, and the attempt was to try to get women, minority-owned businesses to come into that mall. It wanted to really reflect Los Angeles. We didn't want to just have all the usual chain stores, but you and Willie Brown, not the Willie Brown of San Francisco, but another Willie Brown, invested in a store that you reminded me called Laserland. And as the assistant marketing director, it was my job to, walk the halls of that mall. What a bad job. Every day, talk to the store owners and see how it was going and see what we could do to help promote your businesses. So that's really, I think, where I got to know you and appreciate the fact that, again, in the midst of this other life that you had, you were taking a chance and investing in a business that was starting up in a mall that many people weren't sure would succeed. So appreciate that, and really congratulate you for wonderful years here. Wish you all the best. I can't believe you're leaving Los Angeles to go to Louisiana, but we know you're going to be taking care of family. So goodbye for now. Good luck. Godspeed.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl is our next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chat, you know, having done 16 years of television and watching you on Channel 4, you were an inspiration to me as well. The last time you were working with me, you put a mic right on my face as I was there with Secretary Chertoff over at the airport. It was a real tight question you asked me, and fortunately I gave you a tight soundbite answer, which is part of what we have to do. Now, when one door closes, another one opens. I never thought I'd be sitting here, to be honest with you, when I was doing what I was doing over the years. And why not, when you go back down there, take a real hard look about that hurricane in New Orleans and come up with some documentaries of what really happened with our federal response or lack thereof. But I do know that once you do where you're going, there's going to be an itch for you to communicate that back to all of us. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for what you did for all of us in Los Angeles, connecting us to the issues, helping us understand the democracy, and really making us more empowered with the news of the day. A true journalist, a great loss to our city, but I see you bouncing into something else real quick. Bless you. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Mr. Labange.
Fernell, thank you. You're a beautiful man. I love Sundays when there wasn't. I like Sunday night football a lot. I know it took that 4 o'clock out of there, but when there was a Sunday show, you were there, and on Saturday, you were the one we turned to. I appreciate who you are. I'm happy that there's other chapters in life that one could turn, and you're turning a chapter. You're going home. You're going to family. And anything I could ever do for you personally, I want to be there for you because you're a special human being. Thank you, Fernell Chapman, for being a great journalist, a great friend of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wesson.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. My colleagues here have already said just about everything that can be said. But what I want to try to, get over to you is that in all of the years that I've had an opportunity to know you, you have been a class act. And Mr. Parks and Ms. Perry should be commended for bringing you in so that we could honor you today. One thing that people, elected officials, don't particularly like are got-you reporter types. You were never that type of a person. You were straightforward. You had integrity. You asked legitimate questions, and most of us had no problems answering those questions. So I just wanted to rise to say that you were one of the good ones, are one of the good ones. We will miss you, but as one chapter closes in life, another chapter opens, and I wish you success as you go down to New Orleans. Don't eat too much gumbo and get overweight because you want to stay slim and trim. But anyway, it's been a pleasure to know you, and without a doubt, if anybody asked me what I think about you, I'd come up with the word integrity and just a good straight out. The way I think reporters used to be is definitely the way that you are. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Mr. Alarcon.
Yes, Fernell, Herb just took most of the words out of my mouth, but it just gives me an opportunity to say more words. And yes, you set the standard for a level of professionalism in TV journalism that is sadly disappearing. And that is this cynicism that is this insidious cynicism that has grown in the ranks of the media, when in fact you always knew that a reporter can have a positive attitude and still get to the core of the issue that needed to be gotten to. You've been respectful, you've been professional, one of the most articulate reporters on TV, smart, you did your research, and you've been a tremendous supporter of Los Angeles. And why shouldn't reporters support the city that they work and live in? And so I just want to add my name to the people who was sad to see the other day when I was watching the news that you were going to be leaving. But at the same time, I know that you've done some great things for the people of Los Angeles, not just on camera, but off camera in terms of your charitable work and your contributions to the community. And also, probably more important than anything else, the incentive and the hope that you provided to so many young people who might not have otherwise thought of going into that kind of career. You have inspired them to do so. And that's why we see the demographics of the media as we see them today. It wasn't like that when you started. And I also want to say that I was very pleased to see that you're going back to New Orleans. They need you. And I was there a year ago and worked on a Habitat for Humanity project and a Kaboom project at a park. And I can tell you it is one of my favorite cities in America, and it'll be that much better to have you back. I hope you engage, sort of in the community service style, not necessarily in the journalistic style, but if you use your writing skills, I'm sure you can say good things and inspire people in New Orleans as you have inspired people in Los Angeles. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Fernell, on behalf of the Los Angeles City Council, Dan Perry and I would like to present you a resolution. And thank you for your objectivity and the class you presented during your 30-plus years. And again, we realize you were not the first employee. Just simultaneously, they're celebrating the 60th year at the same time you're retiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks, and congratulations, Fernell, for an incredible career here in Los Angeles, and many more better days ahead. Excuse me?
Okay.
Oh, I was just adding my good wishes.
Thank you all so much for your kind and generous words. When I first set foot in this chamber, I got stared down by a member of the council, and I wasn't sure what was going on. Eventually, he made a beeline toward me, and I was standing right over there. Another reporter leaned over and whispered to me, "Watch out, here he comes." And he came over and he shook my hand and told me, "You're new in town, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, my name is Fernell Chapman. I work at KNBC Channel 4. And he said, "Well, my name is Gil Lindsay, and I'm a councilman here. And if there's anything in this town you really want to know, just call me." And I did. And he went on and said, "Have you met the mayor?" I said, "No, I haven't yet." He said, "Well, come along with me." He grabbed me by the hand, took me through that door, went through some hallways I didn't know existed at the time, bolted right past security and told them, "Don't worry about him, he's with me, he's okay." Went up to the mayor's secretary and said, "Is Tom in?" And the secretary said, "Yes, but he's in a meeting." He said, "Well, that's all right." Bang right through the doors, towed me in and said, "Tom, I want you to meet somebody. This is a new reporter in town." And he turned to me and he said, "What's your name again?" And I said, "I'm Fernell Chapman. I'm a reporter at Channel 4. And there was this incredibly long, awkward moment of silence. People were sitting there. The mayor had been interrupted. So I decided to break the silence, and I said, "Mr. Mayor, I'm thrilled to meet you, but I apologize for this intrusion. It wasn't really my idea to do it this way. It was..." And I turned around, and there was no Gil Lindsay. Gil Lindsay had made a beeline back to the council chambers to take care of business. That's just the way he was. That's just one of so many fond memories I have of this place and of all of Los Angeles. I've seen the good, I've seen the glorious, I've seen the ugly. I've about seen it all. It has been an incredible ride. I want to thank KNBC, Bob Long in particular, my former news director, for the opportunity to have served this community. I want to thank you for having your doors open to me when I came knocking with questions you didn't always want to face. I want to thank you for embracing my work. And for one last time, I want to say from me and all of my loved ones, thanks for having us in. We're going to go back and take some photos. We're going to go back and take some photos.
Our last presentation will be made by Councilmember Bill Rosendahl.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, as we used to say, and some of us still say Happy Friday. You know, one of the jobs, or one of the realities of this job is mixing and mingling with people throughout the communities that we serve. And this is one of the greatest honors for me, is when I meet folks who make a huge difference with their lives. And for the last 4 years, I've gotten to know the folks we're going to honor right now, which are Nan and Denny Snyder. These are two local folks from Westchester. For the last 30 years, they've involved themselves in practically every aspect of how you make the life a better community, how you deal with character and scale and quality of life issues. The biggest issue that I've been familiar with, of course, has been the LAX. It has to do with modernization, yes, expansion, no. Little background on Nan and Denny Snyder. Let's just talk a little bit about Nan first. You know, Nan is a businesswoman, a homemaker, and a community volunteer. She has a degree in psychology, specializing in arts, history, and physical science. Nan put herself through school, earning awards for her artwork, and was a student teacher and a tutor at a grade school, middle school, high school, and college. Her 25-year-old interior design company specialized in space design to update domestic and light industry facilities. Nan has a tremendous people skill, resulted in a 1,000-person sales organization. Nan has been an active board member of the Alliance for Regional Solutions of Airport Congestion, better known as ARSAC, folks. A lot of us know about ARSAC, and has been the fundraising chair and space utilization consultant with LAX Pacific Plan Amendment Committee to upgrade LAX design and services. She has also been involved in numerous community improvement projects and was a volunteer for constituent services in CD11. As a mother of two, she was extensively involved in community education. She was a founding patron of the Westchester Neighborhood School and Math Science Aerospace Magnet and Westchester High School. A little bit about Dan. Denny is a fellow with a bad back. Okay? And I've known the bad back since the moment I got elected. We all have bad backs, some of us. And that bad back never bothered him from getting involved in issues. You see him standing more than sitting. But he's an amazing man. He is the president of RSAC, a participant of the LAX Pacific Plan Amendment Committee, past president, board member, and airport affairs chair of the Westchester Neighborhood Association. He's vice chairman of the LAX Community Noise Roundtable, board member of the Westchester Player Neighborhood Council, West Side area representative to the mayor for budget issues, executive board member of Valley Vote. Well, there's a lot more to say, but right before we went on the Christmas holidays, we had a huge event to honor this incredible couple. First, let's bring Fritzy up. Where's Fritzy? Come on, Fritzy. Fritzy is Nan's mother.
I'm Denny's mother.
Denny's mother.
But sorry, I'm her mom.
Okay. All right. Bring them closer. I answer the other two up. Come on up. Ruth Galanter. Good. You come on up too, Ruth.
Always a pleasure to see Councilwoman Ruth Galanter here. Thank you.
And Ruth, of course, knows more than I do about the history of those two.
She'd like to forget
and she has played a major role, of course, Ruth Galanter has, in modernization, yes, expansion, no. But I also want Nora. Where's Nora?
taking a picture.
Oh, Nora, come on up too. And also, Bonnie, are you here?
Yep.
McShelovich? Okay, good. Okay, great. Well, before I go any further, I'd like, Ruth Galanter, please. Come on, Ruth. Say a few words. Whose shoes I'm trying to fill. I don't have big enough feet.
You have bigger feet, believe me. Also a bigger mouth.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, you're a bigger guy.
With a bigger mouth.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the public. How is that for perfect timing? It's really my great pleasure to be part of honoring Denny and Nan. They have had to housebreak generations of city council members, starting with somewhere before my time, and they've worked their way through one after another of us, and they've trained us all in the intricacies of dealing with running an airport, living near an airport, and trying to shape the future of an airport. I think what's particularly significant, there are a couple of things that are especially significant. They never give up. And there is a lesson for all of us in that. They started out as education activists. There's a lesson there, too, that families in the city of Los Angeles are a really, really important resource. And building on the skills and the networks that they developed in their school activist days, they went on to take on the largest single phenomenon in the Westchester and Playa del Rey community. And they have done for years and years and years now remarkable service for the city as a whole. And although the airport doesn't always believe it, they've actually done great service for the airport as well. Keeping people focused, keeping people clear on what the goals are and what the goals are not, is something that community activists do with varying degrees of skill. These people are really the pros, and so it is my very great honor to join Bill and others, and I hope all of you, in honoring Denny and Nan Schneider for an incredible contribution to Los Angeles. See, I can still do it in 3 minutes.
Did you notice we beefed her off, though? Yeah, well, I'm going to let Nan and Denny speak, but right before the holidays, as I mentioned, we had an incredible event in the community. And as I mentioned about Denny's bad back, well, Nan has cancer, and she's had it for years. But, that doesn't deter her or stop her. In fact, it motivates her even more. But it really motivates all of us in the community to see people who have issues, health issues, putting them aside and caring about the common good of people. And so both of you are courageous heroes to me. I love you both very much, and so does the whole city of Los Angeles. God bless you both. Say a few words, please. Colleagues I know want to speak.
Yes, and just before we hear from both of them, we have Mr. Smith, Ms. Hahn, Ms. Gruhl, and Mr. Cardenas to add their good wishes. Mr. Smith.
That's impressive. I just want to rise and congratulate both Denny and Nan. When I ran for office in 2003, I think I'd met Denny a few times before that. But they came to me and said, we want to talk to you about your campaign. And I said to myself, why would people from Westchester care about my campaign way out in the Northwest Valley? And it became very clear that first of all, they care about their community. They know there are issues that come here that affect that community greatly on a regular basis. But they also care greatly about the whole city. And they really are citizens of Los Angeles, not just Westchester. And they care about everything that goes on in this city, transportation, all those issues that really do impact the airport, but impact the whole region as well. And it has been my pleasure over those years to know and work with both of them. I wish them well and continued health and success. And just thank you for caring so much that you go outside your own district to work in other districts and show how much you can add to this city by being a partner with other council members, obviously a whole bunch of us who have had a chance to work with you. And I just thank you for the opportunity to work with you all these last years and for being a very strong, caring voice for your community. You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Bill Rosendahl, for bringing Denny and Nan down here to the City Council chambers so that we all have an opportunity to honor you. I really appreciate that, and it's great to see Ruth Galanter here, our former colleague, and Denny and Nan. I know you as great community activists fighting for the quality of life for people, particularly in Westchester. But as Greg said, you are really Los Angeles citizens and community activists. You really do care about the whole city. But, just Nan, particularly, you were a mother. You have health issues. Many people would use that as an excuse not to get involved in the community. Being a mother is a full-time job, or taking care of your own health is a full-time job. And it's really gratifying that you have still said, I want to be involved in my community. I want to be involved in the issues. And Denny, you have been so important, as Ruth said, in helping to shape the future of LAX. And it's one thing to be a community activist that says, no, 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 no. You have said, what can I say yes to? What can I be involved in that works? And I will tell you, it's been very gratifying to me as chair of Commerce, Trade, and Tourism to work with you on the modernization plan of Los Angeles International Airport. You have not been against modernizing that airport. Absolutely not. But you want us to do it in a way that always takes into account safety and always takes into account the quality of life of people who live and work around that airport. So my hat is off to both of you for doing things that you may never know will shape the future of Los Angeles and make it a better LA. Thank you, Denny and Nan, for all that you've done.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Gruhl, then Mr. Cardenas, Mr. Parks, and Mr. Reyes. Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you very much, and it's such a pleasure to be able to stand up, even with my voices, is to say thank you to Nan and Denny for what you do. And as mentioned, I represent the San Fernando Valley as well, but I've seen Denny and Nan in a variety of things across the city of Los Angeles because they care about the entire city. And they want people to understand some of the issues that are important to them surrounding the airport because everyone is impacted by that. And it's with passion and a heart that you do that, and an intellect of wanting to educate people and to bring consensus. And that doesn't always happen. And you listen to people, and you develop relationships long time with Ruth Galanter, who we're happy to have here, and Bill Rosendahl, and the rest of the city council. And it isn't often you get people from other parts of the city and stand up here today and say that about constituents for another district. But Bill's, welcome sharing you with us as well. But I know it is weekends and it is nights. It is taking away time sometimes from your family at all, and we are just, you're always in our thoughts and prayers, and know that this is a great day to be able to say thank you. Thank you for what you do and the hard work that you do. I know every night putting together reports and comments on things and going to meetings. That's really dedication to the city, and we're lucky to have both of you here today. Congratulations, and thank you, Bill, for acknowledging them. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much. I think it's wonderful to...
Cardenas, and then Parks is next. Yeah. It sounds similar when I mumbled it like that. Cardenas.
They all want to jump up. You say,
Yeah, okay.
They all want to say something.
We're going to speak in stereo, Parks, and at the same time. I thought I heard my name. Well, I think it's important for people watching today to understand that what you have here is two individuals who have combined their talents and their abilities to give to the community, volunteering time, leading for organizations that are not non-paid activities, the kinds of things that make this country the great country that it is. When you're participating in democracy and giving of yourselves and challenging things. And it doesn't mean that you're doing it because you think that you're going to be in agreement with everybody. You do what you do because you know that those voices need to be heard. Those forums need to be filled with the public. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about you, Denny Snyder. I've known you. I've known your face over the years. And even though we might not agree on certain issues or what have you, my respect for you is tremendous because you do believe in what you do. You articulate it very well. And also, Nan, thank you so much for the arts. It's very important for people who have the artistic ability and that knowledge and that education to permeate that throughout communities. And it's very, very sad, and I'm sure it saddens you, Nan, to see that in this great country, and you're probably going to see that more this year than in the past decade, so many arts programs, so many things that need to fulfill children's lives are going to be cut, cut, cut. And it's people like you with your talent and your heart. They're going to keep these children and these communities alive and well with not only the memory, but the knowledge and the ability and the inspiration to say, you know what, if art is a part of what I want my life to be, the community needs to afford me the opportunity to do that. So thank you very much for what you contribute, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Parks. P-A-R-K-S, Parks.
Yeah. So I'm going to, like Jose Huizar said, we're going to say it's the sound system and not my failing ears. Let me just say, Denny and Dan, thank you very much. And Denny, I want to say publicly all the help you've given my office in really understanding the issues of the airport. And as I've seen you at all these meetings, just as you're standing now with your bad back and all those other things, it's never stopped you from going to community meetings, sharing the knowledge, being involved with these issues, and not just because of LAX, but the larger issue of the community and how it impacts. And because of your involvement and bringing us on board, I think it's the first time we actually had people had real conversations that the airport impacts more than Westchester and El Segundo and maybe Inglewood, that if you go to 83rd in Vermont, you might have enough noise at 83rd in Vermont where you can't carry on a conversation on the city streets. And so it's important, and now we have people, and you called me on this personally, the noise committee that we have now, 8th District people sitting on that. We have people that are interested in the construction aspect because many of those employees and vendors drive through the 8th District on their way to the airport. So all of these kinds of issues have come about because of you coming forward and bringing us on board to talk about these issues. And I remember one of our discussions that we had about 17 different variations of the airport, and it was 52A and whatever they were, and all of those things, and you had to understand them one by one as to the differences. But you were very, very kind to take that time. And Nan, thank you for sharing him, because I know there's a lot of time he should have been home doing the lawn and the laundry, and he wasn't. But he did a lot of good service throughout the city as it relates to those issues. And thank you very much. And Bill, thank you for honoring them.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes.
I just want to say thank you as well. I haven't had the opportunity to interact with you as close as my colleagues from the west side of the city, but the fact that you take a regional approach makes all communities better. And being on Plum for as long as I have been, if I could see that type of regional thinking and understand the local priorities, it'd be a much, much different city. And I do want to say, take a moment just to thank our colleague, Ruth Galanter, former council member, because many of the green issues that we deal with today, she was struggling with way back when it was not very sexy. And so I thank you, Ruth, for your tenacity and your ability to say the things you were able to say throughout the years. It's resonating today. And again, with your stewardship, we're doing much more green-related topics, concerns, priorities because of your efforts. So thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to share this with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Labange.
I just want to congratulate you on this honor and know that the family and the support, every day is a blessing. All this stuff is real important, what you did, but what you're doing for support right now is so important. Ruth, nice to see you. You look pretty in pink.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. And finally, I just want to say to both of you as well, and Denny, the incredible work that you did. I think you were a commissioner, Denny, for Councilwoman Galanter at one point on one of the commissions, no? I thought she appointed you. I remember when you came here, but it certainly is through Ruth Galanter.
I was accused of being part of her staff, but
heard that. Well, it was through her that we first met, and you both embody what a citizen activist should be. And the Greek word for politics and city is the same root, polis. And people forget sometimes that part of being a part of a city is being engaged in the politics of it. And part of why Los Angeles has so few people that get involved is because people don't go to those meetings. They don't come back after weeks, after months. When it's difficult, they give up. and you have just embodied what it means to continue that. And you've done an extraordinary job. I've seen you throughout the city too, whether it's in the Valley, in my own district, or doing airport stuff. So God bless both of you, and congratulations on this honor today. And with that, I'll return it to you guys to say a few words.
Great, and thank you all my colleagues. I mean, you all said it better than me. But you know, when we go over the home and they have more events than anybody for community, Nan has had a pig in a blanket, which is a delicious thing. And when she did that, I decided to give her eggs. So you're going to get a turkey egg, which Herbie loves so much, and you're going to get a half a dozen chicken eggs as well. We're going to put them right there. Okay, and Ruth, I know I do have a big mouth, but you
also have a big chicken farm.
you get your eggs too. Okay, Nan and Denny, please.
I wanted to make one slight correction. My first foray into public service was not with education. It was in Kenny Hahn's office as a volunteer. And most of the things I learned about public service, I learned in that office since I was 14 years old. And one of the big things about that is he had this vision of what the entire city should be. And it's, you know, as a 14-year-old girl, that is probably the most impressive thing that can happen. But I'm glad to see that his daughter's carrying on his work. And, excuse me. But I hope you'll stay on the airport to make sure that they do the modernization projects. They're backing off of them now. They have desires not to build the consolidated car rental, which is something that serves the tourists. And they're also talking about not doing more than just the Tom Bradley. And those terminals need to be fixed and improved so that LAX is not the laughing stock of the country. And I thank you for your considerable pressure on them to keep it up. And thank you all so much for the recognition and for bothering to sign this, and to Jan Perry for all of her work with the AQMD. I'm on the Asthma Foundation, and I really appreciate the things that she's done and participated in. Thank you very much.
You guys get to see me every once in a while, but you don't see her as much, and she's really the solid foundation behind me, and also in front of me. I just want to say to the people who are watching this, you're already one of the small percentage of people in the city, and we are in a budget crisis, and we need more volunteers, so please help. And that's really, and I appreciate all of the things. We don't have to agree on everything, but we will work together to make this a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, colleagues, for that very special presentation. With that, I'd like to recognize for our first item, special one. We've had a lot of family members who have been here in the audience, I know, with Mr. Alarcon. Let's make the findings while he's coming forward. Mr. City Attorney, if you'll please, based on Rule 23 of our Council rules on the urgency clause, please make the findings.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll recite the facts as presented to me by the maker of the motion for the Council's consideration of the adequacy of the findings. Since the posting of today's agenda, Council officially canceled next Tuesday's and Wednesday's Council meetings. As such, the reward offer that was introduced this past Tuesday for information leading to the arrest of suspects who murdered Abraham Guerrero on December 28th at the 12500 block of Corrientes Street in Pacoima could not be adopted until next Friday. Immediate action is required to adopt the reward offer immediately in order to apprehend the suspects for the safety of the community. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 5494.2 before considering the substantive motion.
Okay, let's open the roll on the findings for us. Please go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Under Rule 23, that item is now before us. Mr. Alarcon.
Mr. President, thank you for allowing me to make this presentation from this podium. As you know, when we introduce reward motions, it's important that we make a full presentation so that the folks who might be watching on Channel 35 might get that information in whole. And so I am here to explain that the reward motion before you is to provide $50,000 that would lead to the arrest, the identification, arrest, and conviction of the killer or killers of Mr. Abraham Guerrero. I'm joined here by his family and the LAPD to implore anyone who knows anything about this crime to come forward to help us. Abraham was only 22 years old when he was shot and killed on December 28th. He was standing outside in Pacoima early Sunday morning, the 28th, with friends who were on military leave from Iraq when a car pulled up. A few words were exchanged and a passenger pulled a gun and brutally shot Abraham. These senseless killings are always hard, but in the case of Abraham, this had special impact on the Los Angeles Police Department because Abraham was an explorer for 6 years with the LAPD. From the time he was 14, he worked with LAPD until he was 20 years old. At the time he was killed, he was a supervisor at a security company in Pacoima. In fact, he did some work at Galpin Ford, and I know a lot of you, in fact all of us, are well aware of Galpin Ford. We have a police commissioner who is a manager over there. So that's another irony. And he was applying for the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. The saddest fact is that we are asking people to provide information because we know that if Abraham had been in a situation to witness or have information about a crime, he would be the first to step forward. His history demonstrated that. His future was going to be in law enforcement. He absolutely valued public safety because he lived in a community that sometimes has a tough time with public safety. So we don't take these rewards lightly. In this particular case, LAPD tells me that they believe that there is more information in the community that can come forward, and perhaps with the stimulus of this $50,000. I know that I don't need to tell you to step in the shoes here. All of us have had our own tragedies and have experienced situations like this, but we know that in order to bring closure, one of the steps that's necessary is to arrest and convict the perpetrator of this particular crime. So we are joined by his mother, Maria, and stepfather, Arturo Negrete, as well as his father, Victor Guerrero, and all these family members, even on a work day, because they valued Abraham's life and they would value information that the community would come forward with. With that, I would like to ask his sister, Ruby Guerrero, if she would make some comment.
Hello. My name is Ruby, and Abraham was my brother, my younger brother. He's one of 7. We're a very large family, as you can see. We're always very close. My mom, she raised us in very good morals and values, and excuse me, it's very unfortunate that my brother had to be taken from us. If you can just please put yourself in our position, it's very hard to lose a loved one, especially at such a young age. He was only 22 and he had such great goals for his life. He was somebody that I looked up to, somebody I could rely on. And I miss him very dearly. But I know he's okay in heaven, and that's something that we have to accept. But what I cannot accept is the injustice in this life. I wish that everybody can help us just to find who these people are, and people that have no souls, how they can just take people's lives away. It's just not fair. Thank you.
Mr. Alarcon, we have a card here with the names of Detective Josh Byers and with Andreas Guerrero too. So I'll leave that up to you.
Thank you. As Abraham was a member of our family as an explorer. His brother, too, is a member of the city family. He was an explorer as well. That's Andres Guerrero, and he would like to say some things.
Hello, my name is Andres Guerrero. I'm Abraham Guerrero's older brother. We joined the Explorer program with the intention to become Los Angeles police officers. We graduated the year 2000 from the Explorer program. We retired in 2006 from the Explorer program. We took small steps forward to proceed in our future to become police officers. And we would ask the council to help us out, and the people of Los Angeles and the people of the community to help us bring the person who did this to my brother to justice. As my sister said, he was a good person, strong, loyal. Sorry. I just ask you guys to help us, please. He didn't deserve this. He's a good person, a good brother, friend, cousin, family member to all. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
And the detective handling the case is Josh Byers.
I'm Detective Joshua Byers. I'm the lead investigator in this case. We've had a very difficult time generating leads in this case. We're asking for not only your assistance, but most importantly, the assistance of the community, of the residents of the city of Los Angeles and the city of Pacoima. It's a very small city. We're hoping that this sparks the interest, kind of pushes somebody towards actually making that phone call, notifying us, giving us any information that may lead to this, the apprehension of the suspects in this case. We talk about victims of crimes, and then we also talk about innocent victims in crimes. Abraham, as you can tell by the large numbers of family members, was very involved in the community, and he was, in every aspect of the word, a victim. He did not ask for any of this. He obviously had his life in order. He had his plans for what his future, and that got taken from him. So we're hoping that the approval of council will generate an interest in the community and hopefully be able to take these people to jail where they belong. Thank you.
Again, I would ask and plead with the community, if you should have any information, please do a good thing. Let this family have some sense of rest with Abraham's passing and help us as a community to fight crime and make our community safer. We can't do that without witnesses stepping forward, and we hope that this reward will help you make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Mr. Clerk, if you would please open the roll on this item, then close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
And thank you, Mr. Alarcon, for bringing the family in today, and our hearts go out to all of you, and I hope that we see justice done very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Forthwith, please. All right. Next, Mr. Clerk, we will go to public comment. And our first public comment speaker will be Richard Kearns, followed by Michael Carrion.
Good morning. My name is Richard Kearns. I am a medical cannabis patient and advocate and a 57-year-old gay AIDS activist and long-term survivor. I live in an assisted care institution. I am here today to offer you a harsh bouquet of elevator stories from the Meat Locker Street where I live. Today, my assisted care houses 130 residents, but was originally built to serve a population under 100. Today, half, 65 or 70, are dependent on wheelchairs and walkers to get around. That means most residents today depend on our two also aging elevators to get to the dining room and to exit the building to access medical services. Don't even ask me about fires or earthquakes. 2 elevators that for the last 2 years have been broken or in various states of non-function, sometimes singly, sometimes both at once. 2+ years. It is common to see confused Alzheimer's patients, Patel and Mary and Molly and Rose, riding up and down all day on a single elevator when it's working, too slow to know when to get off and forgetting where they're headed. It was the emergency stop switch that killed the elevators. Overworked staff members, Maria, Sandra, Lucia, George, would jockey on it on and off so as to not stop on intervening floors on their missions of clean, clean, clean. Gay-themed elevator stories? Don't get on the elevator with you-know-who is what I get from Sam, who regularly curses when I walk by in the hall. My favorite, though, is Big Black Joe with his big black mustache who kissed and groped me in the elevator. I like Joe fine, but an elevator is not my idea of a fun first date. Thanks anyway. You will be pleased to know that the emergency stops are gone, and the elevators today are declared fixed, even though they still don't work properly. There are a million more sad and sweet stories that I want to tell you about.
Thank you, sir.
This. Thank you very much.
Yes, our next speaker is Michael Carrion.
Yes, my name is Michael Carrion, and I'm here on the illegal parking of the police department. Up till today, no one's called me, no one's done anything about it. So this morning I drove by Hollenbach Department, and there were vehicles parked blocking the sidewalk. A lady had to walk on the street because there's a tree there. You got 2 vehicles parked on the sidewalk, blocking the sidewalk almost close to the tree, where she couldn't get around. She had to walk around the street. There were 32 cars on Los Angeles Street. Excuse me, that was Judge Aliso. There were 16 cars on Los Angeles, and there were 9 cars right outside. Some of those vehicles belong to people who came up here to get certificates from you. They blocked the bus zone. A person was wheeled off the bus in the middle of the street because nobody on this city council does anything about it. The vehicles, the LAPD vehicles, were parked in the bus zone all the way to First Street. Those same people walked up here to get certificates from you. You appreciate them so much that a disabled person had to be let off in the middle of the street. Yet you sit here and pretend nothing happens. Nothing is wrong with this. You sit here and this is acceptable. It is not acceptable. I don't pick on Ms. Gruhl, but she's the president of the Transportation Department. I seem to respect you very much, ma'am, but you, Mr. Parks and Mr. LaBonge are on the Transportation Department. This is why I bring it to your attention. We need a letter from you to the Department of Transportation and to
Madam President,
right across
the
the street.
speaker should speak to the council as a whole.
Okay.
Let's give him back 2 seconds, please.
Okay. And it will be done. The letter we need is telling them to enforce the law, period.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Perry, if I may, just to, you brought this up before, and we did ask there to be letters sent out. This was not recently, but before, to all of the officers and others to obey the laws that exist there. Sometimes there needs to be a good reminder about that because we do not want people to be parking in illegal places. So we'll make sure that we'll take it to the committee. We're on the committee. We have a general manager of the department. Thank you.
Ms. Gruhl, I haven't had a chance to talk to you, but I did some research, drove around the Civic Center. I think where there's places that we could say E-plates exempt, they should be exempt, so the officers who have to go to court could park as close, if it's in a good area, but have it reviewed. I got to talk with Zachy over at DOT and have some consistency so there's a sign, what it is. All you want is a sign. Thank you.
Also, this isn't on the agenda, so there shouldn't be a discussion.
Thanks, both of you. Maybe you can put together.
For public information, there was a motion that was introduced to get to look for police officers, particularly that are going to the courthouse, and so maybe we can have that discussion as part of the motion.
Thank you. All right, next speaker is Susan Kleins.
Good morning, council members. Can everyone hear me?
Okay. I am a fundraiser and grant administrator at the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association, so it's really important to me in my job to understand where money comes from and where it goes. And so at the end of a project, you can actually report on it. I came to the Budget Committee meeting about the new elephant exhibit, as well as the following council meeting, and was a little confused. So I've actually distributed this little chart that shows where the money is coming from, the provenance of the funding for the elephants. And my hope is that together we can look at this and understand that there's no money to be saved by stopping the exhibit. So the first thing is and I'm rounding off here, the total cost is $42 million. Almost $28 million of that is money that can only be used at the zoo. That isn't money that's available for anything else. That's 2/3 of the money needed. And it comes from $2.3 million from a donation specifically to the zoo and committed to the elephants, close to $5 million raised by the Greater Los Angeles Zoo Association, go GLAZA, from private donors specifically for the elephants, $8.5 million from City Zoo Bond Measure Prop CC specifically for the zoo, overwhelmingly supported by voters. And then the fourth is $12 million from County Bond Measure Prop A2 specifically for the zoo. So what's left? What's left is $14.5 million in MICLA funds, which can only be used for capital and equipment. And this money was dedicated by the council in 2006 to allow more space for the elephants to roam. The cost of servicing the MICLA funds seems to be the only cost at issue here, and I heard this in both the Budget Committee meetings and the full meeting. That cost is $1.2 million per year for approximately 20 years. But GLAZA has taken on that debt service, so that money is no longer on the table. This is a
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Kathleen Cox is our next speaker.
Hello, my name is Kathleen Cox, and I work as the research director at the Los Angeles Zoo. I'm here on my own time to provide you with quantitative data about the behavior of Billy, the elephant, which Councilmember Cardenas proposes to send to a sanctuary where he would live out his life without reproducing. Billy is genetically invaluable to the elephant species survival plan, and preventing his reproduction would be in direct opposition to elephant conservation efforts. I have a PhD in psychology and did postdoctoral work in ethology and animal behavior and population biology. Over the past 32 years, I have been carrying out studies in the field and in the zoo. Under my direction, staff and volunteers have been monitoring the well-being of our elephants and assessing the effects of different forms of environmental enrichment. We have now observed Billy for 2,089 hours using standardized protocol. On a personal level, I find elephants to be magnificent and engaging. Billy is curious, joyful, and sometimes a little mischievous. In 2008, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., he spent 73% of his time exploring, foraging, feeding, or in locomotion, the activities that occupy the majority of elephants' time in the wild. He also engages in repetitive behavior, which is not seen in the wild, but it is not harmful. Rather, it is analogous to humans chewing gum or shaking their legs. The repetitive behavior, mostly head bobbing, peaks when he is anticipating positive events, typically the delivery of food. Based on our studies, we believe that Billy needs a more stimulating environment with greater physical and cognitive challenges. In ethology, we know that it is essential that critical features be available in the animal's habitat, and these are precisely what we've designed in based on our observations. I would hope you take into full consideration the findings I am presenting and reflect on the fact that they are based on 2,000 plus hours of observation of Billy by skilled scientists working at the LA Zoo and for the City of the Angels.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Mr. Arnold Sachs is our next speaker. And while Mr. Sachs is coming up, after Mr. Sachs will be Walter Bechtel. So, Mr. Bechtel, if you're still here, you can come on up and be ready to speak after Mr. Sachs.
Yes, good morning, Arnold Sachs. There's an election coming up in March, and one of the items on this election will be a ballot item regarding solar paneling for the city. And there is much to be discussed about this panel, this item. especially some of the action taken by city council members and the strong desire for DWP to own and install the panels, which means that they would own the electricity, not the city of LA. And since the city of LA pays an electric bill, it would be like if you had DWP come to your house and put paneling on your house. They'd own that paneling, and you would think that it would reduce your electric bill, but they'd say, no, we own the paneling, we own the electricity. You lose. Their strong desire to do this, especially since last year we had this major catastrophe with one of the electrical vaults in Westchester that blew up, and there was a call for a review and a study to make sure all the wiring, all the undergrounding in LA, the thousands of miles of undergrounding was up to code and safe and reliable. What's the status of that? This is a benefit. The undergrounding is a necessity. Let's review this, especially the report that was put out that was withheld from the council for numerous reasons, whatever. But when there was an appointment to be made, there was outrage that the DWP would move without the council's authority. We have a wall of ethics, is what the head of the DWP said. No telling how high that wall is, and no telling what the wall is made of. But let's just say there's a thin slice of Swiss cheese that's got less holes than the wall of ethics.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Bechtel, you'll be next. After Mr. Bechtel will be William Morrison.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to come back in and say something because of a movie that's coming up on the movie screen here today. It's Notorious B.I.G., the movie. I had said something about that in regard to identifying the person who murdered Notorious. I noticed that the community is also having problems with getting people to come forward and say something about other people who had murdered people either accidentally or on purpose. I wanted to say that in that regard, I think I still feel that people should come up and say something because, first of all, knowing about what things are in the music industry, I notice that people that don't say something and are witnesses tend to pose a threat to the people, what you want to call the mafia, or what I know is the mafia, end up posing a threat to them, and they end up being murdered anyway. And so my opinion is that I think that you should come forward to say something, not just because it's an act for charity. I think it's, even if you're a selfish person, you should come up and say something about what you know to protect yourself. I think so. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Morrison.
Thank you very much. Actually, I'm very glad about Denny getting his certificate, but now I'm here to represent actually the 24th Senatorial District, which is the district I just got appointed into. Now, I was aware of yesterday when it was brought to my attention about the lighting district that the funds aren't really being placed where they're supposed to be being placed. So I want to be setting up meetings with each one of you individually. And then plus the parking meter issue, I was reading into the ordinance on that too, since it was brought to my attention, and that needs to be discussed too. Because the community should not be having to pay for these parking meters and getting tickets. Okay, I see something here. I guess we went over on the minutes. Okay, well anyways, on the parking meter issue, you should not be giving out tickets, and if these meters are only placed for 1 hour, like they said in front of movie theaters, we're going to be discussing that too. The other thing is, your Prop B, I found out the way it went on the ballot was illegal, and my department will be looking into this. And that is one thing that the voters do not know, that it did not go through the proper channels of getting on that ballot. So I would like your attention also on this side of the room, on my left-hand side, Mr. Reyes. So the one thing is I want to set up meetings with you on all these issues. So I'm not going to say anything more on that, and also work with your offices. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. The final speaker for public comment is a Mr. or Miss, I think the name is DP Southey. Is that Miss or Mr.? DP Southey.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deep South. Thank you. That's my online name in case you're looking at my guitar videos, because I'm a performer at Venice Beach, and there's another lawsuit on the way. But let me talk about the order that just came down in our case, and granting in part and denying in part. So, but it does say in here that Mike Hunt was violated by the city of Los Angeles.
Madam President, he should be warned that he's violating the rules of decorum by using that language.
Stop the clock.
Mr. Southey, please stop the clock. You know the rules are right there in front of you on the lectern. If you'd like to take a moment to refresh yourself.
Thanks for the arbitrary
start the clock.
discretion.
Start the clock
and
again then.
We're coming for that one. So anyway, it's not surprising that Mike Hunt was let out of jail to coincide with this, but let me say that it took 50 pages for a federal judge to say that my incense is not protected activity the way I was doing it on Venice Beach. 50 pages. And yet I was discovered by Greg Smith's district. I'm getting checks coming in from Texas. The porn industry love my incense. I got discovered. I'm going out to America. So look at me, see, and if you think I had a beard for a long time, that's how long it took for this judge after he told us that actually the city should have settled the case. So it was forever. But anyway, I've seen the other ruling. I've seen the other judgment too. There's another one out there, and I've seen it because he showed it to us. So it only takes the Ninth Circuit to find that me or Michael have one shred of First Amendment and the whole other side of this lawsuit turns around. So anyway, Zuma Dog, David Salzberg's running for mayor, by the way, and Noel Weiss for city attorney. Thank you to finish my...
No, that's it. Thank you very much. That's the end of public comment. Mr. Clerk, what is the next item?
Item 2, called special by Councilmember Huizar.
Mr. Huizar. And before we get to Mr. Huizar, I believe Mr. Reyes wanted to make a motion to reconsider, was it number 4?
Item number 4, yes.
Okay.
We can continue that for 30 days.
All right. We can do that without objection.
Okay.
Would you open the roll on that? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much, Madam President. On item number 2, which item is item number 4, correct? We're back on 2, okay. On item number 2, my questions have been answered from the Housing Department. I do want to note, however, that in light of what we're doing today in the Council with the Housing Department and the assistance they're providing for those homes that have been foreclosed and to alleviate blight, I've introduced 2 motions that would ask the Housing Department to provide possible funding and an analysis to do 2 things. One is to possibly provide mortgage refinancing assistance of up to $5,000 so homeowners can take advantage of the low interest rates, and secondly, mortgage assistance for at-risk homeowners to prevent foreclosures. In fact, the federal government has indicated intent to put money into foreclosure prevention, and I think the city of Los Angeles needs to plan ahead in the event that the federal government indeed moves in that direction. We've also introduced a resolution to support Senate Bill 61 and a companion bill in the House. It would amend bankruptcy law to allow judges to modify terms of loan repayment, including reducing interest rates, and hopefully the Housing Department would come back to us in time to address some of these issues that our residents are feeling today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huizar. All right. So there's no action on that one. There is. All right. Open the roll, please. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Next item, please.
Item 8, called special for cards.
All right. Mr. Arnold Sachs and Mr. Matthew Dowd have filled out cards on item 8.
Yes, Arnold Sachs. It's so good to see the City Council taking action, requiring valid business licenses and all the requirements be met. Would these be that the businesses be registered in the county and the city, or registered as a California corporation in Sacramento? Remember the fiasco with the city attorney's wife. It would be nice also if the City Council had the same kind of backbone when they took action on billboards. They recently enacted a moratorium about erection of billboards, and the newspapers have been covering stories regarding billboards going up.
Madam President,
Why
he
can
does
you
not appear
have
to be speaking about this topic.
action?
Mr. Sachs, you've had an admonition from the city attorney. Hold his time, please. Mr. Sachs, you've had an admonition from the city attorney. Mr. City Attorney, would you repeat it again so he can hear it?
Yes, I'm just advising the chair that the speaker is not speaking on item number 8 regarding the ordinance installing an alarm system and that a valid permit exists.
So, Mr. Sachs, if you could bring your comments back to the topic before us right now. Thank you. Please start the clock.
Ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes, yes. My comments were regarding having valid permits. My comments were regarding the city council's actions, applauding the city council's actions. My question is why not take the same action regarding billboards? If you're so willing to move on having businesses have valid permits, and you've moved to have a moratorium discussing erection of billboards, why not enforce the moratorium?
Okay, hold the clock, please. Again, Mr. Sachs, you're off topic. If you can't get on topic, we'll have to move on. So please get back on topic.
I'm sorry,
Please start
Madam
his
Chair.
clock again.
I don't know what topic you think I'm off topic on. I'm discussing the pros and cons of your actions. If you can't compare apples to apples, which is what I'm trying to do here, you're taking action on the validity of having permits to do business in the city, to have fire alarms or police alarms for businesses. And my question is, do the same thing for other businesses. Billboards are a business. You don't take action there. The question is why?
Mr. Matthew Dowd is our next speaker.
Well, at least I get, hello. Yeah, at least I get to say his name once. Thank you. Yeah, it seems to me that if you're saying something bad about one of these ordinances, then you get cut off. But as soon as you start saying good things, oh, everything's fine in the city of Los Angeles. But my name is Matthew Dowd, and we just beat one of your ordinances. A federal judge just struck down your 2004 Section 4215. Michael Hunt was arrested.
Excuse me, he's not speaking on this topic.
All right, start his time. All right, you've heard.
It's always fun with Jan Perry. Okay, let me talk about this one specifically, and I should. You're right. It requires alarm companies to obtain a permit if they're installing an alarm for you if you don't have one. And it's because the city's in deep financial trouble. They got to make sure everybody gets these permits. It's one of these permit things. We've seen them all over the place. So, considering the state of the budget, I'm going to approve this, and I'm going to recommend that the City Council vote yes on this item, and will amend this section and ensure that all alarm installations and the installers have obtained the correct permit to begin the installation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That marks the end of speaker cards. First in the queue is Ms. Gruhl, followed by Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. And Miss, I was just saying to Ms. Hahn how long this took, but if you may recall, there was the big 245 battle that you led as well to ensure that we responded to communities when an alarm went off, but at the same time trying to deal with the fact that over 90% of them, probably 97 I think, are false alarms. And the whole concept was to try to get people registered so that we knew where those alarms were, and that we could also, for those that had companies that those alarms got tripped off so quickly, to alarm companies who never checked but just called the LAPD without even seeing if it just was a door being blown open or whatever it may be, that we created this whole system of fines. And this ordinance helps us put in another tool in our toolbox to deal with that. Because as you'll hear from Mr. Tiefenk, what often happens is someone may drive by and hear an alarm going off. They call the Los Angeles Police Department and they get an address of the corner of Victory and Woodman, let's just say. And it goes out in the computer, it's mailed out to Victory and Woodman. Well, of course, there's no one there. At that location, it is just a corner. And that this is going to assist us in ensuring that actually the alarm companies are held responsible for documenting and having that the people who have purchased these alarms actually have permit fees. The permit fees are very minimal, $31. It's really the fines as they take advantage of the system that is what we're trying to do, and most importantly to change people's behaviors so that there are less false alarms, and most importantly that police are not responding to so many false alarms in the neighborhood. And so now both the alarm company and the user will be held responsible for ensuring that the users have the appropriate permit and have paid the necessary fees. You may recall, colleagues, we had tried to actually get the alarm companies to be responsible for paying those fees initially, and that they be the ones paying them. And they went around and got state legislation to stop us from being able to do that. But this is a place in which we can require it for them to install in the city of Los Angeles. But it actually will help us going forward. And we anticipate, if you could, Mr. Tiefenk, just explain how much the false, kind of the good statistics, I guess we'll say, which is how much money has been collected in the false alarms, and how it's gone down somewhat, but not as much as you would have necessarily have liked. So.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. Richard Tiefenk, Executive Director of the Police Commission. Just to give you a backdrop, there currently are approximately 200,000 permitted alarm locations in the city of Los Angeles for businesses and residences. In 2007, which is the year I have the most current information for, there were approximately 61,000 activations of an alarm. Of that, approximately 51,000 were false alarms. Of that 194,000 permitted locations, only 32,000 had an alarm activation. So the balance, roughly 19,000 of the alarm calls that we went to were to non-permitted locations. The difficulty on a non-permitted location is that it becomes our challenge then to identify the appropriate responsible party to send the bill to for the false alarm response. If an alarm company calls us today and says there's an alarm at 12344 4th Street, this is company ABC, permit number is 1234. The public safety operator, public safety representative of communications can input that information, then that is the tag that stays with that alarm throughout the entire system. To the officer in the car, to the officer's response, and then to their disposition. And if it is a false alarm, then that kicks into the false alarm system to generate the billing. As Ms. Gruhl indicated, if a resident drives by a location and says there's an alarm coming from the corner of walk and don't walk, the dispatcher puts walk and don't walk in the computer, sends it off to the officers. The officers, unless they are able to identify a location for that alarm to send a bill to, they will say third and walk. Third and don't walk be the location. So what will happen then is the computer will generate the bill, and the bill will be mailed to that address. And then that generates an account receivable of $115 plus $100 for having no permit. So $215 that we'll never be able to collect. It'll just be an account receivable out there because there's no way to go back and identify where that location is at. The permitting ordinance before you today will allow us to capture a universe that we have no knowledge of what that universe is of alarm owners that do not have a permit today. We know that there were approximately 19,000 in 2007 who had a false alarm. If we had that correct information, it would assist us in billing. It also provides us with good information, as any permit does, as to who the responsible party would be in the event there is a valid alarm that we need to contact someone to assist in securing this location. The revenue side of this is that in 2007-8 budget, the budgeted amount for revenue collection for fines was $7.2 million. We collected $8.3 million. The budgeted amount for the fiscal year we're currently in is $7.2 million, and through the end of December, we have collected just under $6 million. We have improved our collection efforts. We also believe with the online of the Cry Wolf system, with the council supported several months ago, entering into the contract, which we anticipate going live April 1, we will have a better management of the system. We'll have a better financial accounting because the Cry Wolf system will interface with LA Tax and will have a much more streamlined ability to update accounts and know exactly what the status of accounts are. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I hope I was responsive to Councilwoman's questions.
Yes, thank you. And I know when the new computer system comes up, it's going to be a much better way in which to do that. Again, we want to be able to know where these alarms are, who's responsible for them, as well as to reduce the number of alarm fees. So I think this is the next step and a tool in our toolbox to be able to not only address keeping officers, but also having existing revenue that's going to help to pay for some of those. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. Next speaker is Ms. Hahn, followed by Mr. Huizar.
Thank you. Again, we're still trying to tweak this whole system of people who many have been told by our own LAPD officers that they should install alarms. And I know we had a huge fight in 2003 when our police commission arbitrarily decided to enact a policy where LAPD no longer responded to burglar alarms. I was horrified by that policy. I felt that gave an open invitation to burglars, come to Los Angeles because LAPD is not going to respond to burglar alarms. We instituted a task force with neighborhood councils, over 60 members from all over the city, who tried to craft a policy that was a little more friendly towards people who felt the need to have an alarm system in their home to protect themselves versus balancing what we were told was a lot of officer time responding to so-called false alarms. I will still go on record to say I think your definition of false alarms is sketchy. We've been told that sometimes officers don't show up for 4 hours after an alarm goes off. At that point, you don't know whether there was a burglar there or not. So I still would take great issue with the definition of false alarm. Nevertheless, we're trying to still figure out how to make it work for everyone. Who enforces this idea of you must have a permit before an alarm is installed? Hold my time, please.
The way we would see it conceptually working, if the council approves this amendment to the ordinance, we would ask from the Office of Finance all of the business license owners who are alarm companies in the city of Los Angeles. We would then send all the alarm companies a copy of the ordinance, and we would facilitate a meeting of them with our Commission Investigation Division, work through any questions that they had so we could do that in a proactive manner. Also, we think it's appropriate that we try to utilize some type of mailing out to the community again. We did this in 2004. We think we had a good response to that. We believe it's worth going through that process again to again send out a notice to all citizens throughout the city in a water bill insert of some type so they get notification of the requirement to have an alarm. So the enforcement of it really would be the responsibility of Commission Investigation Division working with the alarm companies, whom we have a good relationship with, to encourage them to do this because this really benefits their business operation also, because if they are able to call us and say our subscriber at 12344 4th Street had an alarm, they give us the permit number, and we're able then to track that and be, I think, more user-friendly to the customer who is paying the service to the alarm company as well as to the alarm subscriber also.
Right. I really appreciate hearing that because I think it is all about outreach. It's all about communication. I know we installed a whole new system. I went and looked at it at our 911 center about how we can actually track these alarms and fine based on first, second, and third false alarm. I'm a little concerned about the anecdote that if someone was driving by the corner of Walk and Don't Walk, they heard an alarm, they called LAPD. LAPD sent out there. If they're not sure, then why would they enter in Walk and Don't Walk as a place to send a false alarm fine?
Again, the process currently, the way it works is that when that call goes to the communication center and the PSR...
Hold my time, guys. Up there, all of you, three, one of you pay attention, hold my time.
When the PSR enters that address under the current system, this will not be the case under Cry Wolf, under the current system, that address that is put in initially by the PSR follows that call through its entire tracking. When it's entered as a false alarm at the end by the officer, that data tape is given directly to a third-party contractor the city utilizes through ITA, and they generate the billing. We receive boxes of these bills back, ma'am, because they're undeliverable.
Well, that's silly. That's frankly silly.
Under the new system, our staff will be able to go in and look at these all the time. We will have live access to that, and we will generate the billing through General Services Department to the subscriber.
Right. So you said we've collected about $8 million in false alarm fines. According to the report that we got, there's $11 million that was uncollected. Are you assigning that $11 million to the homes and businesses that don't have permits? And
no, I'm not. No.
Then what's the reason for not collecting that $11 million?
Well, we send out the bills. If they don't pay the money, then there's a process through the city. We can send them to the city collection agency or a third-party contractor. And our success rate on those is very low. It's about 10% on each of those that we collect in revenue. So we believe the best way to collect that is to capture the correct information initially and send it out. We do believe we get about 75% response from the permit holders on those false alarm fines. The universe of folks that we think do not pay are the non-permitted and the small group of people who have permits.
Okay, so that $11 million is not just non-permitted.
Absolutely.
It's a collection issue. It's a collection issue.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, I'm really glad you clarified that. I still want us in the city to maybe expand our offerings out there to legitimate collection agencies to try to work with us who probably have a little bit better success rate than maybe what we're using right now. I would like to see us really get serious about collecting the money out there that we deserve. I appreciate your response, though, on all this. I think this gives us, as Ms. Gruhl said, one more tool. But again, I know we've had this debate on the City Council. I think neighborhoods like seeing officers responding to a neighborhood. And I don't buy this that they're not doing something else because they're responding to these so-called false alarms. I think visibility of black and whites in neighborhoods is not a bad thing. And we know with all the technology and computers, they certainly aren't off the beat just because they're responding to a home or businesses that have an alarm. So I'm still on the side of us responding. I believe, our false alarms, according to Sharon So, are down 60%. I think, Ms. Gruhl, that is a number that you and I should be very proud of, that as a result of this, we've lowered false alarms by 60%. I think this is one more way to do it. I appreciate, number one, communication. Let's outreach to people who either have alarms or who are thinking about getting them. Thank you.
Yes, the numbers, real quickly. For 2003, there were 107,600 false alarms. In 2007, there were 61,000. So again, I think that the fine scheme that was put in place has had an effect. And again, just on billing, this fiscal year, from July 1 through December 31st of 2008, we generated $8.4 million in billing, and we collected just under $6 million. So that's about a 71% return rate on our base fine letters going out.
Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you, Ms. Gruhl and Ms. Hunt, for your work on this, and thank you for coming to our Audits Committee and presenting this information, which really cleared it up. I wanted to ask one question to see if we could go further in what we've accomplished so far. And I think what we're trying to accomplish through this is to reduce the false alarm rate so that our officers, our time is preserved and go to some real need in the community. And secondly, to increase revenue, correct, especially in this tough budgetary times. And we're doing that by requiring alarm companies to ensure, prior to installing an alarm system, that a valid permit exists or to obtain one on a customer's behalf. So we hope to do that by doing that. Now, we're still going to have some numbers, as you mentioned, that are not going to pay their fines and perhaps don't want to get permits. Now, have we looked into blocking addresses with repeated false alarm calls where owners have not paid their fees or have not gotten a permit? Is that possible, or do you think that will create more problems than it will resolve?
What we do now is if you have had 2 or more false alarms, that call is blanketed out. It's put on the radio. It's blanketed out to officers, and those officers respond to that call as they're available to respond to that call. We do not respond to a location. We do respond. And the difficulty for us, for those individuals who do not pay, we go through the process that we can take them through, referring it to collection and all of those things, but we are not able to not respond to a call for service that we get via an alarm company. I think the issue for us is that if we are able to have a system where the sanction of the fine is an incentive for individuals to, one, manage their alarms, as you heard me say earlier, 194,000 permits. And of that, only 32,000 had 1 alarm or more. So the vast majority of permit holders are responsible because they know they're subject to having a fine. Those who don't have a permit do not operate in a responsible manner. One, they haven't got their permit. And then number 2, they ignore the fines.
And so can we block their addresses from coming up in future false alarms?
What they
future
have-
alarms, we don't know if they're false or not.
If they do apply for a permit, they have to get all the back fines current.
Okay.
So that's the only way we're able to deal with that.
Got it. Thank
and
you.
we have a process that we can work them through those issues with a pay program and those kind of things with the Office of Finance.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Huizar. Mr. Zine, and then Ms. Hahn for the second time.
Thank you. A little clarification on a false alarm versus an alarm that is activated. The distinction, as I understand, someone actually removes property, breaks in a location. It doesn't matter how long it takes the police to get there. But the difference between an actual and a false is there's no penetration of the premises. Is that the interpretation?
That's correct, and also that if there is some evidence that there has been an attempt, screen prize, something of that nature, which activates the alarm, if there's a police report taken, then that becomes not a false alarm.
That would be an attempt burglary.
Exactly, sir. But
Okay.
any time there is an intrusion that would activate that alarm, and we're able to validate that intrusion could have occurred with some physical evidence or someone who actually sees it, then that is no longer a false alarm. We also will look at acts of nature, power outages, wind. We're able to go check with DWP and see if power was out at this particular location at the time the alarm went off. That doesn't count as a false alarm. We also work with individuals on unique situations that come up about animals setting off alarms and these other kinds of things that we attempt to work through people with.
So if someone does get a building and there was a false alarm and it was because of a power outage, because of some other natural fact, do they then have to appeal, or is the department follow through and not send out the bill? In other words, we have a power outage or we have excessive rain, whatever, and we know sometimes those alarms go off. Does the department do that follow, or do they wait for the customer, the resident, the business, to then protest that particular billing?
We would wait for the individual to get to us because the power outages that occur throughout the city on a random basis, or wind or those other acts of nature that would activate that alarm, we'd have no way to check individual locations with that. But we do have a process. When individuals call us, we can turn that around very quickly. And ultimately, if they dispute the process that we've come up with, there is an appeal process for them to go through.
Okay,
the hearing examiner.
So if someone feels that it's inappropriate for the charge, then there is a process within the police department, within the commission, to rectify that.
You have a hearing before a hearing examiner. He considers all the evidence. The department would present their evidence. The individual subscriber would present theirs. Hearing examiner would render her opinion and make a recommendation to the police review panel.
But short of that, if someone calls in, there's a power outage, will the department then verify that there was a power outage in that particular area without having the resident go through that hassle of coming down and having
Absolutely.
a hearing? Okay, so they try to expedite it and get it
Absolutely.
resolved. The other question is on visible patrol. Ms. Hahn talks about officers on visible patrol. The distinction is when they're going from call to call to call, they're directed to go to those calls, which prevents them from stopping individuals who they may believe are involved in criminal activity, because you are assigned a call, you got to handle that call. And when you're handling that call, prevents you from stopping an individual, and you want to have as much visible patrol and patrol time to do what we call proactive police work. The other issue I have is when it comes to our direction compared to other cities, are we behind the curve? Are we catching up with what other cities have done in this whole alarm situation?
I think we're doing what every other city does. Matter of fact, we don't give a free false alarm. We start charging at the first one. Some cities give the first or second alarm with no charge. Ours starts at the first false alarm is $115. And so I think with this permitting scheme that is before you today to amend the ordinance, I think it gets us up to where everyone else is at. And I think with Cry Wolf, it will be a big asset to us in managing this whole issue from a financial perspective and also the number of alarms.
And just one final question regarding a person who does not have an alarm permit, but a call goes out, the alarm's notified, the company's notified the police. You say 2 or more times. They don't assign a unit. They put a broadcast out. Well,
That's
after
correct.
an hour, if that call is not picked up, it then falls off and no one handles it.
That's correct.
So if someone does not have a permit, an officer on patrol may pick up that call, an all-broadcast call, or if no one picks that up, then no one responds to that call. So it's advantageous to have a permit.
Absolutely.
To make sure the police respond to make sure.
And the big benefit for the permit is to make sure that the false alarm billing goes to you if it was for your location, but also in the event you should have a burglary and you're not home, you're on vacation, who do we contact? Who do we notify to come and secure your home and to work with you to work through those issues?
And this permit system will provide the units in the field contact information, business, residential, who to contact, broken window, etc. So there'll be an
Thank you,
emergency
Mr. Zine.
notification. They will have that as part of it.
Your time has
Absolutely.
expired.
Well, you didn't hold my time.
No, I hold your time several times when you didn't even ask.
I appreciate your
Out of
courtesy.
a professional
I appreciate
courtesy,
your courtesy, and
you
I'm
are
going to
now
surrender the
you are
microphone.
expired. Thank you, Mr. Labange. Now, before you stand up and start talking, I want this to work out for you in a better outcome than Mr. Zine. So.
It will be very quick,
Okay,
Madam
good.
President.
Okay.
Mr. Tifak, as Executive Director, I have a little view of the city as a whole. I had trouble with your opening statements. I didn't know where the corner of Walk and Don't Walk is. Could you tell me what council district that's in?
It's right down the street, sir. Council
Right down the
District
street.
16.
All right, here's the thing. You got it. That is a smart director. The question I want to ask, all this stuff about false alarms, the fire department sometimes has false alarms. Has ever the police department and the fire department discussed false alarms jointly? And whatever our fines, or have you ever had a conversation with the fire department?
The council had introduced, I believe, a motion, and I believe it was introduced by Councilwoman Gruhl, if I'm not mistaken, relevant to the fire department looking at a fee structure for false alarms for fires. That certainly is something the fire department has been looking at. As far as I know, we have provided counsel to them about our system and our structure and how we track and monitor that. One of the issues that we did have, and it has been resolved to the best of our knowledge, is that some alarm companies that were trying to save their subscribers a false alarm would report that alarm as a fire alarm to the fire department. The fire department would respond to that location. It not be a fire alarm. It was for the police to come to a burglar alarm. And we believe we've worked through those issues. This goes back about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Anyway, it's a complicated matter, but I do think it's important that police are anywhere they can to be in the area and trying to resolve this. I thank you, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Thank you. Ms. Hahn.
You know me, I always have to have the last word on that proactive police work, but again, I encourage officers, if they're out there at a business or a resident, knock on the door, talk to somebody. Hey, we were called to this. It doesn't seem to be a real alarm, but is there anything else going on that we need to know about? That's all community-based policing. That's all proactive police work. I encourage that. One of the things that we talked about, and I don't know how that's working, is if you got a false alarm, sort of like traffic school, we were encouraging people to go to alarm school. Is that working, and is that process in place? Thank you.
It is in place. It's working very well. Our collection for that far exceeds any of the outsourcing that we do for collection of debts to the private enterprises. We had last year just about 2,000 people come to alarm school. They get that fine waived.
Okay.
And we are now in the process. As soon as we get Cry Wolf up and running, we're working with the department to hopefully have on the department website an interactive alarm school that people could do on the web and save them coming down to a meeting. Our alarm schools are throughout the various council districts in the city. We do them in the different quadrants so people don't have to come downtown to Parker Center.
That's great. I really appreciate that. I think we've come a long way, and I think it is about communication. Look, bottom line for LAPD is we don't have enough officers on the streets at any one time. That is the problem. So we have to figure out how to use our resources in the smartest way, and we have to be fiscally responsible in the city on how we find and then make those collections. I think we're at a point now where this is a workable system. And I appreciate, Richard, your comments. We've come a long way since Joe Gunn. But I really appreciate you working with us to create a policy that works for our officers, works for the people that we represent, and also keeps us fiscally responsible on collecting those fines. So I appreciate your willingness to work on this.
Thank you. Well, it's the hard work of our staff, not myself. They do the hard work.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker for the first time is Mr. Cardenas.
I guess until we have stopped making speeches school, we got to move to call for the question.
Please open the roll on that, Mr. Clerk. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That matter is approved. Thank you. Now, as to the matter before us, please open the roll again. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right, thank you very much. Next item, please.
Item 13, called special for cards.
Okay, you said item 15 is called special for cards.
13, Madam President.
13. Okay, hold on. All right. Mr. Arnold Sachs and Mr. Matthew Dowd. If Mr. Dowd is not in the chamber anymore, it'll be just Mr. Sachs.
Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. Again, one of your special events here involves a race on a weekend, running on the weekends. And I refer again to the City Council's actions that they took for the LA Marathon, where you had 4 religious leaders come before you.
This is off topic. He's already been warned.
Please
and
stop this clock again. Mr. Sachs, the city attorney, has indicated that you're speaking off topic, so if you could please speak on topic to the Garcetti-Labange motion that is before us on the agenda, right there on the screen for you.
The Garcetti-Labange...
Start the clock again, please.
This isn't on the special events? Sorry. City of One. City of One. Sorry, I thought this was on special events. This is the special events item. I'm not going to speak on this.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew Dowd, one more time. Seems that Mr. Matthew Dowd is not present in the chamber. So, Mr. Clerk, if you would please open the roll on this item. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Next item, please.
Madam President, the remaining items are on the special meeting. Council should recess the regular meeting at this time.
All right, we can open the roll to recess the... No, we don't... Okay. Okay, go ahead and recess the meeting, and then we'll go into the special meeting.
And item 14 was called special by Councilmember Cardenas.
Mr. Cardenas.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the IT staff to come forward. City Attorney here on this matter. Thank you. I think it's important for the council to understand once this RFP comes back, some of these issues will have been clarified ahead of time so that people don't get overly concerned about issues that perhaps don't exist. For example, the issue before us has to do with a RFP that's going to be going out regarding the web-based email system that we have, and I want to clarify some of the important questions, and that is, the first one is, would the data remain confidential and secure, and if it is or isn't, tell us what the difference in the way the data would be handled compared to the way we have it today.
Good afternoon, council members. Mark Wolf with ITA. In terms of security and confidentiality, with a service as such that we're proposing where the email and office software services would be provided by an external provider, We are including in the draft RFP that we have not released at this point yet specific language which addresses confidentiality, data ownership, that the city would retain ownership and administration of any of the data that would be stored externally, that also that there would be strict provisions on how the data would be accessed and administered in the event of things like public records requests or other types of legal requests for data. The city would be the responsible party for receiving those requests and actually gathering that data.
And there's a word that people use, a legal word, proprietary information. Who would that information be proprietary information to? Would it remain with the city or this third party?
I'll let our city attorney's office answer that question.
The city will own all of that data. It will be in the possession of the vendor in their servers, but the city will own all of that. We will have the exclusive rights to that. They will agree to maintain it as fully confidential.
So legally maintaining something, some property, and owning it are two different things, and we would remain the full owners of that information.
Correct, including, all rights, all intellectual property rights, etc.
Okay, based on the system that we have today, and should this system, somebody successfully be granted this proposal in the future, would we be looking at the amount of men and women involved in security of a system compared to the system we have today and the potential system of tomorrow? What amount of personnel when it comes to security do we have today compared to what we could have tomorrow?
Currently, the city has about a handful of people that are fully dedicated to securing the various information systems that we support citywide, and this varies from email systems to all the various systems that we have in place. So it's a small number of staff. In companies that provide the types of services that we would be bidding on, that we would be asking for proposals for, they have in the realm of hundreds to thousands of employees that are fully dedicated to just security functions. So security functions are actually, they exceed the capabilities that we currently have internally in the city to secure these types of systems.
Okay. Would the police department potentially be utilizing such a future system? And if so, are they satisfied with the security elements of it?
Yes, the cost analysis that we have done is based upon 30,000 users, which includes all the council-controlled departments, including the Los Angeles Police Department. We've had a number of discussions with city departments, including LAPD, and LAPD, along with fire department and other key city departments, have actually been part of the process of developing the draft RFP that we have put forward. LAPD has some specific security issues that they would like to have addressed, and we are working with them to ensure that before any execution of contract that those concerns are met.
And just because we go out to an RFP and it looks like somebody may have satisfied the RFP, does that obligate us to go ahead and sign a contract with them, or do we have the authority up until the last minute to decide not to sign a contract if, in fact, there are some issues like that never get resolved?
As with all of the city's RFPs, the city reserves the right to reject all proposals and to not award the contract.
Okay. Should we transition into a new system, are we likely to look at a Big Bang type overnight transition or a phased-in transition?
We would expect that we would have a phased transition, but we would like to do that in a accelerated time frame, probably in weeks, months, not anywhere towards a year, because of the wanting to get the cost savings.
Okay, so most likely a few weeks to maybe 2-3 months. That would be an ideal time frame, or less. Correct.
That is correct.
Not something that transitions 1/3 of it in 1 year, another third of it another year, etc.
Correct. Otherwise, the cost savings would be spread out over a greater number of years.
Okay. What's the potential for cost savings, just a range of that we can guesstimate so far, should we transition into a new system?
Based on our cost analysis, we estimate that there's a potential savings of $8 to $30 million over a 3-year period, and that's dependent upon what level of services we would procure. So we're looking at, we would be putting an RFP out for both email services as well as Office Suite software. Office Suite software is like word processing, spreadsheet, presentation software, and so forth. So if we would procure all of those services, we would reach the higher potential of savings. If we would only procure one of the services, the email services, then it would be a lower range in savings.
Okay. Is the situation today so much that our current system or provider is doing a terrible job, or is it just that technology has moved on so much that there are probably better options out there today than when we set up the current system?
The current system is adequately meeting our needs today. The primary driver behind this initiative is really to look at potential cost savings given the city's financial crisis.
But those cost savings are more realized, we can possibly realize them in today's technology time reality versus when we started the system in the past.
That is correct. The type of business model that we would be looking to procure with utilizing the services over the web, this was a model that hadn't matured up until the last few years, and now it's one that's being adopted. It has been available for probably a decade in the consumer market, but in terms of private sector and government organizations, it's a more recent implementation of a new business model.
Mr. Cardenas, you're over your time. Okay. And we have one more speaker.
As the opening council member, don't I get a little bit more time?
Okay, you're 2 minutes over the.
So I get one more?
All right, one more minute, and then we'll go to Mr. Rosendahl.
All right, thank you. I'm just about done. So the bottom line is the primary driver is the fact that technology today affords us the opportunity to possibly change the system, be much more efficient financially, also with the number of men and women on the city side of the employee structure. We could actually move those to also so that they could address issues throughout the city, because that's changed as well. Don't we have a lot more demand for IT personnel today than we did 10 years ago and 20 years ago?
We absolutely do, and there's increasing demand for services and new capabilities and ways to improve the overall efficiency of the city. And as everyone is aware, revenues are down and we have less money available to spend on these services. So really the challenge is to look for new and creative ways like this to be able to move forward with providing services in new and innovative ways.
So if we continue to move with measures like this across the board throughout the city, we could potentially be paring down our expenditures and getting more done with less money to the tune of tens of millions of dollars, and eventually perhaps across an upward of $100 million into the future annually, if in fact we continue to focus on being much more innovative and getting more done with less, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, and thank you for coming before us today. You know, I got to tell you, I do my emails, but I do it at home. And my staff, frankly, is frustrated with the slow service. It's not user-friendly. You know, a new email would be more cost-effective, easier, and faster to use, because that's the world we're in today. So the present system doesn't work. It's frustrating, takes too long. A new system, as Mr. Cardenas was clearly pointing out, there's so many options out there today that we need to look at. So I applaud you, and I urge you to move as quickly as you can so that we can be more efficient and more effective using our email systems.
Thank you.
Am I making sense?
We absolutely believe that it makes a lot of sense, and we'll be bringing forward other initiatives to council as ideas of ways to improve cost and actually bring in more capability to the city.
See, I like the capability and cost factor. We're going into a budget cycle. Great notes. People don't want to spend money. This we need to spend money on to be more effective in delivering services to our constituents. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. Thank you for giving us your answers. Mr. Clerk, would you please open the roll on this item? Close the roll.
12 ayes.
Thank you. All right, very much. Next item.
Madam President, that does leave the closed session item.
There is a closed session item? Okay, then please clear the room. If you would, the officers will assist you in exiting the rear of the council chamber. Thank you very much, and we are back in the special meeting, which we must adjourn. The special meeting's adjourned. We'll go back into the regular meeting and take care of a few housekeeping details. Mr. Clerk, what's the next item?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
The motions are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Weiss, request to be excused February 24th, 25th, and 27th for personal business that meets council policy.
Mr. Weiss is excused.
And Councilmember Cardenas, request to be excused Friday, April 17th for city business that also meets council policy.
All right, he's excused.
That would clear the desk.
All right, now, members, are there any announcements? I'm sorry. All items today need to go forthwith. Mr. Rosendahl, did you have an announcement, or?
Yes, I do, and I just want to very clearly say to all my colleagues going to Washington, have a great trip, and the next time we're back in session, we'll have a new president of the United States, and we wish hope and change and positive energy for the whole nation and for the whole world. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Alarcon, you have an announcement.
Yes, I just want to announce that the Boys and Girls Club is going to have the second annual Dr. Martin Luther King Day Community Breakfast. That will be, the Pacoima Boys and Girls Club at 11251 Glen Oaks Boulevard. The date of the event is January 19th. The time is 10 a.m. in the morning. That's usually when the a.m. is. This is obviously to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King's Jr.'s birthday. And the theme of this year's event is Unity. The keynote speaker is distinguished civic and religious leader that I think most of us all know, Rabbi Stephen Jacobs. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa spoke at last year's breakfast and is invited to speak again. Please, if you need additional information, contact Bob Wynn on my staff at 818-830-6373.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you. Just want to announce we're in an opening of a brand new fire station in my district on Whitsett on Sunday at 1 o'clock, and invite the community to be there. It's really a replacement of an old fire station on Coldwater Canyon that was in a very dangerous spot, and now, which is supposed to be there temporarily, and they were temporarily there for 12 or 15 years, I believe. So a great day in Studio City, and ask everyone to come and enjoy.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn, do you have an announcement?
No.
Okay. Mr. Labange.
Congratulations on Fire Station 78, Wendy, and also they're right next to the Los Angeles River and will help in the future. They're specialists in river rescues, etc. Thank you, Mr.
That's your announcement. Thank you, Mr. Labange. All right. Mr. Parks, do you have an announcement?
I'd just like to remind everyone that January the 19th, Monday, MLK Parade and also all-day festival after the parade in Leimert Park.
Thank you very much. Any other announcements? Because I have one. Mr., do you have an announcement? You made your announcement. You okay? Okay. I'll make my announcement. All right. 2 announcements. On Thursday, January 22nd at 10 a.m. here in the John Ferraro Council Chamber, council offices, department heads, department liaisons, neighborhood councils, and anybody else who's interested, City Clerk wants you to come and attend its demonstration/training of its latest online application. And this will teach you valuable online tools, how to track pending items, run various reports, receive immediate notifications via RSS feed and or email notification. You'll also receive an overview of the council's legislative process and answer any questions that you may have. If you have any questions about this event, please email shannon.hoppes@lacity.org or call her at 213-978-1073. And again, I want to personally invite anyone who's listening or watching to Nokia Plaza at LA Live to watch the inauguration and the swearing in of Barack Obama as he takes oath of office this Tuesday, January the 20th. Pre-ceremony events begin at 7 a.m. in the morning. We will have a live feed from Washington, D.C. The swearing in or the oath of office will take place at 9 a.m. our time. Parking will be complimentary. If you have any questions, please call my office at 213-473-7009. And for those of you who would like to take public transportation, please go to www.lalive.com and hope to see all of you there and enjoying this historic event as a city together. That was www.
Chambers?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that's
Thursday.
Thursday the 22nd. Yeah. All right. Does anyone have any adjourning motions? Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, I'm asking that we adjourn in the memory of Alan C. Porter, Sr. Alan passed away peacefully on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2009, after a year-long battle with lung cancer. He was a longtime member of the Sylmar Chamber of Commerce and was appointed honorary sheriff of Sylmar in 2008. He was very active. He was obviously very active in the community. He was born February 5th, 1929 in Flint, Michigan. He joined the Air Force as a surgical technician serving in Japan at 17 years of age. He was discharged in 1949 and began a 30-year career as a painting contractor. Mr. Porter was married twice, first to Patricia Miller and then to Sandra Ward. He was married to Sandra for 31 years until she passed away in 1999. He was an avid antique car collector and frequently would rent his antique cars to the movie studios and was a member of the San Fernando Valley Regional Group of Early Ford V8 Club of America. He was a great father, great grandfather, and friend, and will be truly missed by so many family and friends. He's survived by 5 sons, Scott Porter, Kent Porter, Alan Porter Jr., and Dennis Ward and Donald Ward. 2 daughters, Michelle Porter and Kathy Ward, 9 grandchildren, 11 great-grandchildren. And the funeral services are held actually this morning at 10 a.m. this morning at Oakwood Memorial Park in Chatsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Our next adjourning motion is Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. I wish us to adjourn today in memory of Grozdana Zanki, also known as Donna, who passed away January 11th. She was only 54 years old. Born in Dubrovnik, Croatia, Donna immigrated to Watsonville, California, with her family in 1970, and then relocated to San Pedro, where she has lived the rest of her life. For many years, Donna worked at ERA Realty in San Pedro, while also raising a loving family. Donna leaves behind her husband, Nevin, along with a son, 3 daughters, 3 grandchildren, and her 2 brothers. She also leaves behind an extended family of nieces, nephews, and cousins, both here in the United States and in Croatia and Australia. She will be dearly missed by everyone who knew her. A funeral mass will be offered this Saturday, January 17th, at Mary Star of the Sea Church in San Pedro, and in lieu of flowers, the family has requested that donations be made in her name to Libertas Foundation in San Pedro. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Madam President. And colleagues, ask that we adjourn today in memory of Ruth Swiggett, perhaps one of the oldest members of CD14. She passed away this January 11, 2009, at the age of 105. She moved to El Sereno in 1964 and resided in that community for 45 years. She was a 30-year member of the Coordinating Council and a 31-year member of the El Sereno Senior Club. She worked with Councilmember Art Snyder in the establishment of the El Sereno Senior Center, where she taught English and citizenship classes for several years. In 1972, Ruth was named honorary mayor of the Bicentennial Parade and nominated as Grand Dame of Los Angeles in 1982. One of her proudest accomplishments was the naming of a street in her honor by the El Sereno Senior Center that crisscrosses both El Sereno Park and Farmdale Elementary School right across the street. She spent many years at the El Sereno Senior Center, and people there love her and will miss her. She is survived by her 3 daughters, 1 son, and 2 stepchildren, in addition to 14 grandchildren, 34 great-grandchildren, and 15 great-great-grandchildren. The viewing was held yesterday, and the funeral took place this morning at Forest Lawn. We certainly will miss her in El Sereno and all of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Mr. Huizar. Mr. Labange.
President, members, I ask we adjourn in memory of James Thorpe, who recently passed away. He's the former director of the Huntington Library and Botanical Gardens. He helped raise the public profile of that great institution, turning it one of Southern California's leading educational and cultural centers. He's survived by his wife, Elizabeth, and their son and daughter. Also, members, I ask we adjourn in memory of Preston Gomez, the great longtime Angel scouting consultant and Dodger coach. Also, he played baseball in the big leagues for many, many years and was a big league manager both for the San Diego Padres and Chicago Cubs. He lived to be 96 years old, survived by his wife and daughter, 2 sons and 2 daughters. Preston Gomez. Finally, I ask we adjourn in memory of Monsignor Johannes Kachingas. Father Kachingas was the Catholic Church at the St. Cashman's Lithuanian Church, which is the largest Lithuanian Catholic Church in Southern California. He immigrated here from Lithuania, born in Lithuania. He lived to be 100 years old. I presented a resolution to him at the last fair that they had. He was up in this rectory, and I spoke loudly from the fair in the church hall there. And I also will say, Father Kachingas blessed me there. My brothers and I would love to go to confession because we had trouble sometimes understanding his Lithuanian accent. But he always understood what we said and gave us a lot of Hail Marys and Our Fathers for any misdeeds the Labange boys did. Father Kachingas was a great man. May he rest in peace, 100 years old.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Parks.
Thank you very much. I have 2 adjourning motions. First, I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of Git Martin Sr., passed away December the 6th, 2008, originally from Tempton, Texas, where he attended Prairie View University, where he majored in music and also participated in RTO. After joining the U.S. Army and reaching the rank of second lieutenant, he settled in Los Angeles after an honorable discharge, where he created a successful career in life insurance. He also became, later in his career, a scout for the National Basketball Association. Subsequent to his retirement, he's moved back to Texas, but he passed away on December the 6th. Funeral services were held Saturday, December the 20th at Guidance Church of Religious Science. He leaves his wife and 3 sons. Also, that asks that we adjourn in memory of Doc Ellis, who passed away December 19th, 2008, at the age of 63. He's a former Major League Baseball player. Ended his career 11 years in the majors with 138 wins and 119 losses. He spent most of his time with the Pirates, and most of us remember he had a 19-9 record in '71 when the Pirates won the World Series, and he also made the All-Star team. He later went to the Yankees and played in their American League Championship Series, where he ended 1976 with a 17-8 record. He was one of the mainstays in baseball of fighting racism and also fighting for free agency in his tenure. He later in his career, after retirement, was hired by the Yankees and offered guidance to minor league ball players on drug and alcohol abuse. And he kept up this campaign against addiction for the rest of his life. He's survived by his wife and 3 children.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Mr. Rosendahl.
Madam President, Stanley Sevilla, a treasured family man and resident of the Pacific Palisades, passed away unexpectedly on Saturday, January 3rd, owing to complications associated with pancreatic cancer. He was 88. Born April 3rd, 1920, raised in Cincinnati, Stanley was the son of immigrants from the Spanish enclave in Istanbul, Turkey. The Sevillas had a pharmacy in Cincinnati. Stan graduated Phi Beta Kappa from the University of Cincinnati in 1942 and from Harvard Law School in 1948. In between, he served as a captain in the Army Air Corps from 1942 to 46, stationed in Puerto Rico. Stan brief bomber crews on how to navigate their way from Puerto Rico, hopping from island to island en route to Europe. This gave him a lifelong interest in aircraft and flying. After graduation from Harvard, Stan married Lois Howell in 1948. They moved to Los Angeles to start their married life and Stan's law career. They moved into their new home on Merville Lane in the Palisades in 1962. Stan served on many boards of directors, including the Caesars World and the Casper Mills Scholarship Foundation, which provided scholarships for orphans. He was a founding member of the Marquez Knolls Neighborhood Association, once served as its president. Golf was Stan's enthusiasm, at first on public courses and later a lifelong member of the Riviera Country Club. Above all, Stan was a loving family man, with his most proud of his children, putting all 5 of them through college. When that was accomplished, he put his wife Lois through college as well at UCLA. In addition to Lois, his wife of 60 years, Stan is survived by his beloved children, Stanley O, Susan, Donald, Carol, and Elizabeth. He loved and greatly admired his 8 grandchildren. Stan also survived by his sister Eugenia and her husband Raymond. The funeral was private. A memorial service is pending. In lieu of flowers, donations for scholarships in Stan's name may be made to the Casper Mills Scholarship Foundation, 12340 Santa Monica Boulevard, Suite 212, Los Angeles, California. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. And that concludes our adjourning of motions and our business for the council today. And a reminder to the public that we will be in recess next week due to inaugural activities in Washington, D.C. So, Mr. Clerk,